They got me the same way. I watched that one PBS documentary about homeless, and then they just started throwing all these other documentaries about homelessness at me.
I
was
do
like, all right,
appreciate
I'll watch that.
PBS, but did you see that? What's his face? The guy that runs Project Veritas. He like caught one of the lawyers or one of the lawyers for PBS saying like all kinds of shit about Trump.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Totally caught him red-handed, and that guy got fired.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, good.
All right, so I'm still getting dropped frames. Some frames have not been encoded. Unsuitable encoder settings. Hmm.
Yeah, it's choppy on our end too. That's weird.
It's plug it. Everything should be fine.
Okay, how do
Nothing's changed on my end as far as the laptop or anything.
Yeah, nothing's changed on that end, but see how it's choppy. It's the damn wind, man.
Blame it on the wind.
Blame it on the wind and the rain.
Yeah, we cut the bit rate in half, folks. Welcome back. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry, folks.
6,000.
Commander Osa says the sound is good, though. It's just the frame rate is...
So we're doing an audio-only podcast today. You guys can...
yeah, don't look at us.
Don't
look at us
You guys
anymore.
can listen to while you're at the gym.
Yeah.
And get your pump on.
Get your pump on, but don't look at us, because
So,
it's not going to be very good.
Yeah, should we blast the intro again just for fun?
Yeah, let's do it again.
No. All right, let's move on to our next story. Let's keep this baby rolling because this train don't stop. This is another article from the Washington Post, owned by Bezos, coincidentally. Yeah, so you guys may have seen this there's some news circulating about how Harriet Tubman is going to be on the $20 bill now, and Biden is accelerating the development of putting her on the $20 bill, and all the leftists are kind of upset because they want checks. And they're looking at the news and they're seeing Biden's emphasizing Tubman on the $20 bill. Where's my checks, please?
Where's my $2,000, Biden?
Checks, please. Yeah, so it's just kind of funny to watch that. But now what we're seeing here is kind of the backlash, I guess you could say, of the conservatives not reacting the same way to the election as the leftists did in 2016. So when Trump got elected in 2016, there was absolute mental breakdowns everywhere. Across the entire country, leftists were, literally getting mental illness from his election. And they were kind of, throughout the 4 years, they were kind of waiting and hoping that this would happen. Biden would get elected, and then they get to dunk on Republicans because they were kind of expecting Republicans to have the same reaction. Oh yeah,
they were. That's why they had, what was it, 20,000 military guarding the inauguration because they thought the Trumpers were going to show up armed and ready to take over.
Well, even not as big as that, but on social media, the leftists were constantly, anytime somebody posted about the election at all, whether it was good, bad, indifferent, just any kind of commentary on it, they're like, "Oh, you're coping. This is cope. You're cope."
Okay.
Because they're so eager to try and find the ways where the Republicans are mentally breaking down the same way the leftists did in 2016.
No, we're just going to go back to work.
So this is an article from one of those guys who are in that mindset. He wants the Republicans to feel bad, and this is the best that he can do to try and rationalize in his head that the Republicans are feeling bad. Basically, it's a massive hallucination. And let's check out and see how this guy is hallucinating.
I was going to say, I don't think you have it on. Do you have it on the other camera angle? There we go.
For the two frames per second that you guys will get on the video.
Yep.
Transgender ban lifted. Tubman on the $20 bill. It's a hard time for conservatives. From the Washington Post.
Oh, the stream looks better. A little better.
It's intermittent. It's the wind.
It's the wind, y'all. Sorry.
Okay, this is great. We got to go through most of this article because I was having such a great time reading this earlier. From Paul Wildman at the Washington Post. When a president from your party replaces a president of the other party, your relationship to the news suddenly changes. Also, when I'm reading this, take note of how soft and fluffy he is towards Biden, and how much you can tell that they just love Biden.
Giving him an underhand softball toss. Softball throw.
Yep. Instead of turning on the TV or checking social media with the thought, "Oh God, what did he do now?" you find yourself pleased or even cheering over and over again as the new president rolls out a wave of policy changes that warm your heart. Are you kidding me?
What?
This is journalism.
My heart's not being warmed right now.
This is journalism.
Okay.
And of course, if you're in the other party, you're plunging into a nightmare. See, this is where he describes how he felt in 2016. And he's trying to use
projection
to think that Republicans are thinking this way right now. If you're in the other party, you're plunged into a nightmare with one blow after another to your agenda and your worldview raining down on you.
Oh my goodness.
Which is what Republicans are experiencing right now.
I don't know about that.
I love it.
I know, I love it too.
He's more mad than we are.
Yeah, he is. He's more mad that we're not mad.
And we lost the election.
Yeah, he's mad that we're not mad that we lost. Like, that's what's
happening.
That's the mental gymnastics that's going on right now.
That's why it's hilarious. He's mad that we're not mad.
And we even lost, so we should be mad.
One reaction to that fact is to be solicitous to their hurt feelings, working to understand what's making them mad and seeing if there's anything that can be done about it. And while many Democrats would say, to hell with that, there's another way to treat the anger many Republicans will feel about the practical and symbolic losses they're just now starting to experience.
Well, okay.
He's been waiting 4 years to write this article.
He really has. He's kind of a beta, not gonna lie.
So now he's going to throw a couple examples of how Republicans are losing their minds over a couple of issues here. So let's take a look.
Let's do it.
As on a number of issues, here conservatives often use practical arguments when the real source of their position is moral. In reference to the transgender ban on the military being repealed.
Repelled.
Yeah,
They're gonna repel off some rocks.
I was thinking of like bug spray.
With that, repel off some rocks with that transgender ban.
In this case, they say that allowing transgender troops will hurt, quote, readiness when there's absolutely no evidence that it does.
But it does.
As the experience at the end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell and the ban on gay service members showed, and before that, the end of racial segregation, while plenty of people in uniform have unwelcoming views, as a whole, the institution is quite good at adapting to that kind of change without harm to its ability to function. He's rationalizing the repealing of the transgender ban, and one of the things that I think is funny about this when they talk about the transgender ban in the military is all of the other exclusions that are on military entrance.
Right. You can't join the military if you're flat-footed.
I can't join the military.
Why?
You probably couldn't join either.
Yeah, I'm too skinny.
Yeah, you're too underweight.
They don't want me. I have to gain like 15 pounds of muscle.
I can't join because I have earrings.
Yeah.
Or these particular style of earrings. I probably can't join because I have the tattoo on my arm either.
Air Force definitely not, but Navy would probably let you in.
This one's questionable, but the earrings are definite disqualification from all branches, as far as I'm aware, because I talked to recruiters a while back just to gather information on this.
Yeah.
So, am I oppressed? Where's that the inequality and oppression on the earring wearers? Jewelry. The fans of jewelry are all oppressed.
Yeah, totally.
It's actually, if you want to compare the numbers, that's probably a bigger percentage of the population than transgender people. People who have earrings like mine.
And also, I'm pretty sure there's not very many transgenders that actually want to serve in the military. Most of them seem pretty hell-bent on just making the rest of us miserable.
All right, continuing on here, they said, no. The real problem many social conservatives have is that they have a strict and hidebound perspective on matters of gender and sexuality. And to them, the idea that people can even be transgender just seems wrong.
Well, it is.
So they're mind reading here now. So again, remember what we tell you guys. They always have to use a moral reasoning. They can never use a logical reasoning to back up their ideas. So he kind of skips over the whole. He strawmans the Republican position from they're mentally ill. It's a lot of money. It hurts our preparedness. To nope, it's all about morality. They don't believe that transgender can even exist.
Even though I know personally several people that are in the military actively right now that are transgender. So it's such a stupid argument.
So they tend to oppose any expansion of rights for trans people because it will lead to greater acceptance and a society that continues to move away from their view of people who ought to be and how things ought to work. Massive levels of mind reading and projection happening right here.
Yeah, that doesn't sound quite
Also, I have to say,
doesn't sound quite accurate.
I haven't seen anybody really that upset over the transgender ban being repealed. I'm sure there are some conservatives who are upset about it, but it's not like a no, how dare you do that? It's more of like oh, well, that's gonna make everything a lot more inefficient. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, I'm not for the transgenders being banned. I just don't want the military to pay for their transition. That's my thing about the transgender ban, and I'm pretty sure.
See, that's way too nuanced of an opinion, though. It's either they're in or they're out. You hate them or you love them.
Well, I mean, if they come in transgender, that's fine, but pay for your own damn surgeries and pay for your own damn hormones. Don't expect the fucking military and all that shit to pay for it.
Well, here's my question. I'm not allowed in because I have earrings. Transgender population, last I checked, has a roughly 40% rate of suicide and a high propensity for mental illness. Which one hurts preparedness, quote unquote, more? Me having earrings or them having mental illness?
Oh, mental illness all the way. I mean,
I'm not going to answer it. I'm just going to propose it as a question.
Robert says Delaney, transgenders join the military to get the government to pay for their transition. It basically occupies their 2-year active service. Yeah, and I mean, I'm pretty sure the few people that I do know that are transgendered in the military, that's not the main reason they joined the military. They joined because they wanted to serve, but they just happened to be transgender before they joined. And then when they got into the military, they went and talked to the military doctor, and the military doctor's like, "Oh, I'll prescribe you testosterone or, estrogen, whatever it is you're on, and like we'll pay for you to cut off your body parts too." The military, I said, I have a friend who is in the Marines and female to male transgender, and military paid for her top.
Of course you do.
Paid for the top surgery.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I don't agree with that.
I see a more pertinent inequality happening right now in the world, and that is the number of likes on this stream compared to the viewers.
Right? We need
Hit
to
the like button. Let's get the engagement up. Stop slacking.
Yeah.
Come on.
Or dislike. We'll take that too.
We need some combat readiness. Get those likes up.
Yeah. And then I think somebody also said, Athenian says the hormones they take fuck with their motor skills. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, we see that that's way too nuanced. We can't talk about the effects of all the different chemicals they're taking and what testosterone does to your mindset, especially when you give it to a female.
Oh, yeah.
Like super physiological amounts of testosterone in a female, like multiples higher than they've ever had in their entire body. And then you're giving it to them as you hand them a gun and live ammo and saying, "Here you go."
I'm just not.
No problems there.
I also just think about it from like strategy wise. Why would you want to have like trannies in your military, in your platoon that is like overseas, and they have to be on hormones and receive them regularly, and you're like in the middle of BFE, and how like logistically it's like it just makes no sense to like make special exceptions for the transgenders like
So
that.
how angry are you from a scale from 0 to 10 about this being repealed?
Oh, I don't care, but it's just
See, that's the point. We just had a conversation about all the ways that it's not good, but there's no anger here.
Yeah, there's no anger. It's just I wish it didn't happen. I wish that.
No, it's like I said, nobody's angry. We're
Yeah.
just saying like, that's not very efficient.
It's not very efficient.
It's
like,
not good when we use it for money
and I'm pretty sure
resources.
Trump didn't ban transgenders from entering the military. He's just like, we're not going to pay for your transition. And that makes sense from a fiscal standpoint. Like, why would you spend tens of thousands of dollars on hormone replacement and top surgeries and bottom surgeries and all this stuff for a mental thing? Like, if you after you're done serving and you want to like transition, do that. But
if you don't agree and encourage with everything that they want to do, you're hateful.
yeah.
So yeah, we've okay, nobody's mad about that, buddy.
Yeah, I'm not mad.
We're just kind of laughing at how impractical it is. And this is the second example that he gives here.
Okay.
Continuing on from the Washington Post article. Back in 2016, when Barack Obama was president, the Treasury Department announced that the $20 bill would be redesigned to feature Harriet Tubman,
Okay.
the
I'm down for
former
that.
enslaved person who led others to freedom.
Get rid of that Democrat Andrew Jackson off the 20, please. I'm all for that.
There you go. In order to avoid offending people too much, President Andrew Jackson, who currently occupies the front of the $20 bill, would not be banished completely, but would have his image placed on the backside of the bill, rather smaller in size.
That makes no sense.
Listen to the verbiage he uses here, though. In order to avoid offending people too much, who cares?
Who is really offended by Andrew Jackson on the 20?
I bet if you asked, nobody could even. Probably 90%. What percentage would you guys in chat? Give me a number. What percentage of people do you think could not even properly tell you who's on a $1 bill?
Oh, it's way higher than you'd think.
90?
I think it's like, I'd say it's at least 80% of people.
Nobody cares.
Oh, you wouldn't be able to tell. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell. Like, ask anybody who's on the 10, because everybody who's like, there's a $10 bill.
No. It's Roosevelt, right?
No.
Is it?
No.
Oh, see that? There you go.
It's Hamilton.
Case in point. Not even I know.
Do you know who's on the 50?
Nope.
Ulysses S. Grant.
No idea. See, there you go.
And you should know who's on the 100.
I'm in the 90%.
You should know who's on the 100. He's not even a president.
Teddy? Mm-mm. No, I'm not Teddy. I meant the guy with the glasses, the bifocals.
Benjamin.
Yeah, the bifocals.
That's why they call him Benjamins.
Bifocals.
Yeah, the bifocals guy.
All right, so you guys go. Perfect. Case in point, I know nothing about money. Most people don't know nothing about money, and nobody cares. about this. But this guy thinks that Republicans care. He thinks this is a giant transgression against us.
No, Republicans don't care about Andrew Jackson being taken off because, again, Andrew Jackson was a Democrat. So all the Republicans are like, yeah, take Andrew Jackson off. I don't want that.
Here we go. Here's the rationale. To many, this was an important step. Jackson was a notorious racist, a slaver who, as president, was responsible, among other things, for the Trail of Tears in which thousands of Native Americans died as they were forcibly pushed west. Tubman, on the other hand, is one of America's greatest heroes America has ever produced. Trump put up a painting of Jackson in the Oval Office. Biden has already removed it and halted. Oh, if Trump put up a painting, then every Republican must love it. And halted the project to redesign a $20 bill. On Monday, Biden's press secretary said that the administration is looking at ways to speed up this redesign because of the importance of ensuring that our money reflects, quote, the history and diversity of our country. That's the fail trombone. Yeah, we need a trombone.
We definitely need like a soundboard so we can just like
sad trombone.
Have like a sad trombone little stinger right there.
Well, there's the second clip for our soundboard of Jesse Lee Peterson saying amazing.
Amazing.
And the second one will be sad trombone for articles like this. Here we go. Many conservatives will find the new Tubman bill distressing. Are you guys distressed? What's the level of distress? I'm so distressed. What's the level of distress?
I'm so distressed.
In chat.
Actually, a lot of people seem to be in favor. A lot of people seem to be in favor of Harriet Tubman, so.
Okay, if anybody's distressed, there's a suicide hotline. Even if they could barely tell you the first thing about Jackson. Does that make them racist? The real answer is, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So he's kind of like walking through the logic in his head, and he's like, well, most Republicans probably don't care about this, but it doesn't matter on an individual basis. What's in individual hearts is not really important. So he's again, this is where he's projecting Donald Trump onto everyone in America as far as Republicans. He sees that Donald Trump put up a painting of Andrew Jackson, and he thinks that all Republicans love Andrew Jackson.
No, I would disagree that Trump shouldn't have put that stuff in the White House.
And this is where we can tell that that's true. He's projecting Donald Trump onto all the Republicans. Like most leftists are doing these days. They're all making this fatal mistake.
Dari says, I'm eating popcorn, not feeling anything but bliss. Hell yeah. That's how you should be, Dari. Good girl.
A good portion of the people who voted for Trump when he promised to make America great again, see? The people who voted for Trump.
MAGA.
Projecting Trump into the people, did so because he was appealing to their sense of loss, the idea that America's present is different from their past of their childhoods, the past to which they wanted to return. It was about race and language and resistance to change, and yes, even about economic anxiety.
Oh, sorry, Dari, I didn't know you weren't a girl. My bad.
Did you just misgender Dari?
I did. I'm sorry. I have an aunt named Dari, so I assume.
How did you not know Dari was a dude?
It's not like it's a gender, like, it's a, what is it, a unisex name?
That's a gender typical name.
For girls?
I'm just bullshitting. Okay, here we go. This is the last up. Just let's wrap up this article. I just love this. I hope you guys love this as much as I do, because they're mad that you're not mad.
I know, they're mad.
Listen to this. They're now very unhappy, and they're going to keep feeling these symbolic blows as the news tell them that they're not in charge and that America is moving in a direction they don't like.
Yep, that's why we're breaking off.
It's going to make them mad.
Oh, it's going to make us mad. So we're already not mad enough, so it's going to make us more mad.
I wonder if mental illness is a requirement to be a writer at Washington Post, or if it's just a common theme.
I think it's a requirement, honestly.
Oh, listen. Okay, the parting sentence is this. But the right thing for Democrats to tell them is, we understand your feelings. We get why you don't like this, but we're doing it anyway. You'll get used to it.
Sounds kind of rapey, not gonna lie.
Just imagine if leftists were reading articles about Donald Trump back in 2017, 2016 after he got elected, and laughing about it the same way that we're laughing now. Like, we both wanted Trump to win.
But we accepted that he lost.
We don't care.
Yeah, we don't care. We're not affected that much.
I was over it. Over a month ago. You know what I mean? Like a week after the election, I was already over it. I was a little upset because I lost $400, but that's all I cared about.
I was upset for you that you lost $400, Jeremy.
This guy wanted to see us screaming at the sky,
the leftists were. Yeah.
He wanted to see us. He didn't get it, so now he's trying to create that in his head, along with all the other leftists.
Hell yeah.
All the leftists that go on Twitter and they say, cope, 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 cope. That's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to manufacture the distress that they felt when Donald Trump got elected. And it's juvenile, but it is funny. It's hilarious. And I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did, because, God, it was funny.
Philip B. says, article reads like a middle schooler wrote it. Hell yeah.
Exactly.
This guy probably is a middle schooler mentally, so there you go. He says the fuse from the compost pile are melting brain cells at Washington Post. Maybe. They probably got the compost on every build on every level.
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
As I was reading it.
All -1 says, whip yourself, Delaney. Oh, I will. I will whip myself when I get home. Don't worry.
All -1. I caught the tail end of your stream there, buddy.
We did. We both did. A little bit.
As we were getting ready here. But
glad to see you in our stream. We always love having you.
That's right. Yeah. If you guys didn't know, we did a stream with All -1 on his stream called "The Ends Justify the Memes" last Wednesday. It was a great time. We talked for 2.5 hours on very engaging topics. So I would recommend, if you haven't seen it already, go into "The Ends Justify the Memes."
Checking that out.
Memes, MEMES, not memes. Memes, and check that out. We were on there. It was a good time.
It was a great time. We have another live stream scheduled with them in February, but we'll let you guys know sooner when it gets closer to the date.
We'll be back.
Yeah, we'll be back on his stream for sure.
For our science topic of the day, because we like to keep you guys. We're pro science here.
Yes.
We're not anti science like the left. We love to keep you guys informed and help you understand why the world is the way that it is. And this is one of those studies that we're not going to go through the whole thing, but we're just going to read through the abstract and this is your science bite of the day. We need to create a segment title and intro for that. Science bite of the day.
Science.
Brought to you by Dr. Pepper.
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Not even regular diet.
Always 0 sugar, 0 calories.
And 0 taste as well. I'm just kidding.
Well, if you don't drink real soda, it tastes fine. This is from Stanford from 2014.
Okay.
Buried under the mountains of time. It's a study called Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Thinking that one is attractive increases the tendency to support inequality. So this is a study that kind of backs up my running theory that the leftists are generally all mutants who are biological failures, and they're using that biological failure not consciously, but they unconsciously tend to support equality because they can't achieve the same level of success as a normal. So of course they're going to seek artificial means to get resources.
Yeah, they do.
So let's just quickly read through the abstract here. No, I want to read the conclusions. Actually, I'm going to go back and load up. I want the first article here. Highlights: higher self-perceived attractiveness, increased support for inequality. By contrast, lower self-perceived attractiveness, decreased support for inequality and hierarchies. This is why they hated Jordan Peterson so much. This is why Jordan Peterson became as famous as he did, because he talked about what? Lobsters and hierarchies. Because hierarchies are a natural thing in nature. You can't deny it. These effects occurred because self-perceived attractiveness influenced perceived social class. Power, status, and self-esteem did not account for the effects. Correlational and experimental evidence are presented. So, if you guys want to read this, it's on ScienceDirect.com. It's directly from Stanford. You can Google the study, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, Who's the Fairest of Them All? You'll get the whole study. We're not going to go through the whole entire thing.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff.
Just wanted to share some, the brief synopsis of the study and the results with you. Basically, I'm not talking smack when I'm just saying that Antifa and BLM are all mutants.
Yeah, so, yeah, they're all about...
They actually are mutants, biologically speaking, and there's a reason that they favor equality, egalitarianism, socialism, communism.
Yeah, because they're at the lower end of the spectrum.
They're simply trying to fulfill their biological drive to get resources.
Oh, yeah.
And they can't do it the way that a successful, intelligent, non-genetically deformed person can do, so they have to use the government to do it for them.
Makes sense.
There's my theory.
I mean...
That's your science bite of the day.
Well, I mean, it goes back to that whole saying of work smarter, not harder. these guys don't want to work harder, so they're working smarter. So the way that they're being smart is by like convincing pretty people that like we want to be equal to you by, by the means of socialism, communism, all that shit.
I was gonna say I cannot say that they're working smarter. They're definitely not smart. But then
No.
you look at where we're at right now. They own all the institutions.
Exactly.
They own schools. They
I wish
own
that
Hollywood. They
wish
own the
that they weren't
government.
smarter, but they're being a little bit smarter than us right
Whatever
now.
they did worked.
Yeah, because they own just about every institution.
Well, it wasn't them. They're just the useful idiots. But
Athenian says leftists are special needs. Definitely little special needs going on there.
we're going to talk about special needs because the main topic of the day, as you guys might see from the stream title there, is the grim dark future of America. And hopefully you guys can appreciate the Warhammer 40k reference in the title there. But I wanted to try and at least strike some imagery into your head of imagine a world. Imagine a world 20 years from now when all these children who are being raised at home through Zoom meetings and never interacting with real humans grow up being taught critical race theory, how to protest, what racism is, instead of math, science, technology. What does the world look like in 20 years?
Gonna be a bunch of idiots.
It's going to be...
Or they're just gonna be all up on their phones and not want to interact and do anything. So
oh, it's going to be much worse than that.
David says good night. Night, David. Have
Later,
a good
Dave.
night.
Later, Dave. Thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Yep. Always happy to see you on Weekly Narrative.
So, first, let's start off. Let's zoom out a little bit before we rush into this. Who do you guys think is the biggest victim? I kind of seeded the answer a little bit here, but the biggest victim in this whole pandemic lockdown thing.
Children.
We could say businesses because a lot of them have been suffering due to being shut down, lockdowns, regulations based on nothing, as we've seen recently with the California stuff. There are magical algorithms that say that ICU capacity is going to be low in a month. We're going to open up. No more stay-at-home order. So you could say parents who have to work at home now with their kids at home.
Yep.
You could say children
I'd say children are the biggest
cannot
ones.
go to school. They can't get the social interaction that's key to their development at that age.
They can't get the physical side of going to school, because like one of the cool things about going to school is being able to meet with your friends and play on playgrounds and have that social interaction, but also the physical interaction. It's a big part of like growing up.
I would also say kids, because kids are also less resilient. They are still in the phase of, they're still in the growth phase. They're still.
That's a good point.
They're not like me. I can work remote for a year. It's not going to affect me at all. I don't care. If I don't interact with a single human being for a year, not a big deal. If a child in the middle of puberty or, 13, 12, 15, 16, 17, even younger, 8, 9, 10,
Yeah.
they don't interact with people as they develop, that's going to last.
It'll stunt them.
Permanent damage, people.
Well, and they say that like I think from newborn to 7 years old is like the most crucial time for children. That's when they absorb the most information. That's when that's when their personalities form. So imagine these like 3-4-year-old kids growing up with COVID right now and like being raised that this is the new normal.
That's what I'm saying. We've referred to this
It's
previously.
disgusting.
We referred to this in streams as the ticking time bomb. This is gonna. If you think kids being raised on Instagram and Twitter was bad, add on a pandemic and no social interaction on top of that. This is a ticking time bomb. So we're gonna go over an article now from Connecticut. And the other thing is, this isn't a narrative that's going to be talked about very widely. It's a big issue, but the media coverage, relatively speaking, is going to be very small because it goes against the narrative that they want to tell you, which is that teachers are the superior beings on earth. They don't want to go back to school. Teachers don't want. They feel like they're at risk.
Yeah.
They don't want to go back to school.
Bunch of pussies.
Teachers unions are controlling that. We're seeing them have power over the cities who want to go back to school, but the teachers unions don't. And they're kind of, playing the alpha role in these situations. And the kids are suffering as a result.
They are.
So this is an article from Courant in Connecticut. And I have to go to local articles because again, this is not really going to be covered on
On
mainstream
national
nationwide
media.
news. Yeah, so
It's only local
we're lucky
stuff.
we even have this, but this applies nationwide. Just because this is a Connecticut article doesn't mean this is Connecticut specific.
Connecticut is just a small little sliver of a state.
Just a
up
small
to
sample size.
Just a small sample size to a greater problem going on in this country.
They're deeper into crisis. Doctors worry about mental health toll of pandemic isolation on children and teens. Increased risk of suicide. From a week ago. As the coronavirus pandemic drags on, doctors and other mental health professionals worry about the impacts of prolonged isolation and stress on children and teens, including an increased risk of suicide.
Yeah.
Which is very strange. This like teen and adolescent suicide thing kind of just came out of nowhere as far as my mental radar is concerned. When I started hearing about this last year and the year before that, with the rise of social media and Twitter and all this stuff, I didn't realize that 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds were killing themselves.
They're trying to or thinking about it.
I didn't even know that they were capable of doing that. But
Right?
now it's a thing. And
I think about like being 8 or 9. I wasn't thinking about killing myself even back
yeah,
then.
that's what I'm saying. How messed up does your life have to be to where you're 8 or 9 or 10 and you're thinking about killing yourself?
Oh, I know, right?
It's
Well,
insane.
Also, Arian in the chat, he mentions marriages have suffered under lockdown too.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's a whole nother.
and the marriage
show
strife,
right
and
on
if
that.
if there's actually like parents raising their children together, and the children are seeing the marriage strife, that affects them as well. So
Yeah.
it's all bad.
No, I mean the death count is the only number that you're supposed to care about. The COVID death count. You're not supposed to care about the kids killing themselves. You're not supposed to care about the future implications, the families that are being busted apart, the suicides from,
The alcoholism and drug
divorces.
addiction.
yep, all the lives destroyed. You're not that's not a number. We don't care about that. We only care about COVID deaths. So, Dr. Stephen Rogers, an emergency room physician at the Connecticut Children's Hospital in Hartford, said that while the hospital is seeing fewer patients than it did before the pandemic, the children who do come in have more intense problems. Quote,
Oh,
they're deeper into crisis.
poor little babies. Like an 8 or 9-year-old should not be in freaking crisis. Like, oh my,
No, not even close. It's
an 8 or 9-year-old should not have to worry about this kind of stuff.
This is the pandemic reality, people, that we're using this as a political weapon and sacrificing the children in order to carry out this attack.
Almost makes me want to cry. Like,
That's what it is. And I'm not saying the COVID itself is an attack. I'm saying the way we're responding to it is an attack.
by locking our children up and making sure that they don't go out and hang out with their friends and play games and learn different things from each other.
They were already stunted before the pandemic. Children growth and their socialization was already awful because they're getting cell phones at 5. They're on Twitter by 7, and they're suicidal at 9 because they're comparing likes to Susie who got more than him or her. You know what I mean?
Right?
It was already bad, and now you add this on top
And
of
you
it.
add, not being able to see their friends and interact with their teachers. That just makes it worse.
Rogers said that before the pandemic, schools would often refer to children having behavioral health issues to them for care. But with many schools operating in a hybrid or remote model, quote, that's not happening as much, he said. Our sense is that families are either not recognizing it or are waiting longer. There's this fear that it is risky or scary to come to the emergency department, that you might get the coronavirus, and that's just not true. And that's another thing. Having worked with hospitals, because some of my clients are healthcare providers, they have seen a massive decrease in normal routine visits to the hospitals because people are afraid of getting coronavirus. So people who would go in to get, physicals, any kind of routine, not routine, but
Any kind of testing or anything.
optional procedures that would they call them optional, but it's like heart stents and stuff like that you die from.
Yeah.
That's another tally that they're not talking about. They're not talking about the people who would have gotten procedures and died from not getting the medical care because they're afraid or they couldn't have gone to the hospital. A lot of hospitals are even just straight up not even offering elective procedures.
Yeah, well, because, COVID kills. COVID kills, but doctors kill way more. But we're not going to talk about that.
Before COVID-19, children who visited the emergency department for mental health reasons spent a median length of 8 hours there. We're getting into some nitty-gritty now, some data. So they spent a median length of 8 hours before the coronavirus. Now they spend a median of 17 hours in the department, and Rogers said that there are many outliers who have to spend even more time at the hospital. Anxiety, depression, and self-harm are common problems among such patients.
So why, instead of like having them spend so much time at the hospital, why don't you like take your kid to the damn park to play with his friends and like let him be happy that way? I feel like that would like save you a trip to the doctor.
No, you can't go to the park because if you go to the park, then you're a super spreader.
Or go, like, even if you don't like invite other kids, go to the park with your children and play catch or play like football or play with a dog.
Well, remember, a lot of these parents are also operating under the kind of the fake narrative that, super spreaders, and if you don't wear a mask, you're a bigot and stuff like that. Oh my God. So imagine the parent who wears 2 masks in the car as they're driving by themselves. That's the parent, okay? Imagine
Okay,
that.
and
then you ask the question of why they don't take them to the
those
the
people
park.
should not have babies.
Well, now you know why they don't take them to the park, because they think that going to a park and seeing somebody with your own physical eyes is a super
They
spreader
should
event.
not have those people should not have children. Like, should not be allowed to have children.
Well, now you're just getting into some crazy.
I know. I'm maybe mean, but whatever. I'm fine with that. Like no. The best, like, look at, they said 17 hours on average on the median in the like the health department trying to like help their kids. It's like the best thing you could do is get your kid out of a freaking dingy, like dark, ugly hospital and take him to the park.
Well, it's not.
Go play Pokemon Go for crying out loud.
This is the thing. It's reflective of our healthcare system in America in general. We don't take any preventative measures. The parents aren't seeing the behavior of their children modifying over time in a bad nature, and then making corrective steps over time in a sustained manner to correct those events. They're seeing the tail end of 8 months of isolation and depression, and then they think they can fix it with one visit or one pill or something like that. That's how the entire healthcare system in America works.
So dumb.
Which is why the whole single payer system and government healthcare and all that kind of stuff is doomed to fail.
Dari says a lot of parents need to be parents and stop acting like their teenage kids' best friends. I agree with that as well. I know a lot of parents that like don't want to get their kids upset, and I'm like, that's how kids learn.
You've got an epidemic. There's another epidemic in this country of children being raised by other children.
Yes.
These are not developed, mature, emotionally mature people that they're being raised by. That's a big problem. So you're right on with that, Dari.
They are being raised by other children, for sure.
Continuing on from the article, quote, we're not necessarily seeing higher volumes or even higher percentages of patients that are with us with behavioral health issues, but they are with us longer. The system is somewhat at capacity, meaning there's not a lot of access to inpatient beds because most of them are full.
Okay, well, you know what would help not fill them up so much? Instead of like giving them a pill or prescribing just garbage to them, you need to prescribe like going outside and going camping or something. Like, that's me.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said in November that beginning in April, the proportion of children visiting emergency departments nationwide for mental health-related reasons increased and remained elevated through October. Quote, compared with 2019, the proportion of mental health-related visits for children aged 5 to 11 and 12 to 17 years increased approximately 24% and 31% respectively.
Oh my
5 to 11. How do you have mental health issues between that age range? All I cared about was riding my bike and playing Final Fantasy.
Right? Robert says children learn to socialize by playing with other children before they are 5 years old. If they don't learn, they never learn. I don't know. I don't want to put like never on something like that. I think they can. It's just if they aren't given those proper tools at the age where it's appropriate, it's harder for them to learn. It's way more difficult for them to absorb that information. Not to say it's never possible. I think that's totally possible, but to like break down the barriers, the mental barriers in front of those people that weren't socialized before 5 or before 7 years old, it's definitely a lot more difficult for them to get that information in their brains.
All -1. Got a great point. Getting right to the root of the issue.
Yes.
Doing
He
our
always
job.
does.
Doing our job for us.
Yes.
Says this is generational. We have forgotten the root of society, which is the family. We talk about socializing. Are at 3. Are
Out.
3.
I think out at 3.
Why are they still not playing with others? It's just a way to indoctrinate them.
Yeah.
Well, again, if you lived in a society that had multi-generational families, you would see proper parenting modeled for you. You would learn from that, and then you'd pass that down to your kids. You'd have grandparents to say, "Hey, then that's not how you raise a kid."
Yep.
This, you'd have,
You
but you
have
don't have that these
grandparents,
days.
aunts. In my case, like I had great aunts and great grandparents, like to help and to guide my parents. I mean, I know I'm pretty messed up, but I think in comparison to how it could have been if my parents made terrible choices, it would be a different story. But my parents made the right choices, and they surrounded themselves with the right kind of folk to help raise their children. My brother and I aren't that bad.
So yeah, this I think I got all the juicy stuff out of this article that I wanted to talk about. But this, like I said, this is a nationwide thing. But you're not really going to see this talked about on a nationwide scale. You're not going to see this in CNN or MSNBC or even Fox News. Well, maybe Fox News. But because who takes precedence and priority over the children in our society? As sad as it is, you guys already know because we've talked about it plenty of times on this stream.
Oh yeah.
But it's the people who were. This is the ironic thing about it. The teachers who have these positions right now, they were the children who got neglected and abused 20 years ago.
I know.
This is a perpetuation of a cycle. Because if you're healthy and you're raised properly, you don't want to go into college and teach people about, how to be gay in your math class or how to protest. Those are all maladaptive behaviors that you use that are very ideologically leaning. Not in favor of objectivity.
Athenian in the chat says there's no pill in existence that can cure a child from a bad home life, neglect, or loneliness and isolation. And she also said in the chat later, she says, artificially induced happiness with chemicals is not happiness, love, care, and socialization creates.
It's true.
It's true. That's why I'm saying, like, instead of pumping our kids full of pills and just garbage that's not going to help them, put them back in school.
Yeah, all -1. If you're gonna type in chat, at least get it right, man. Come on.
Come on, man. Come on.
Come on, man. He meant to say we socialize at 3 years and they aren't developed to play with others. They basically play around the other. Oh, yeah. I know what you're saying. Jonathan Haidt explains all of this. Well, Jonathan Haidt took more the angle of social media and how social media is destroying kids.
Yeah.
Imagine social media plus the pandemic. Guys, when I say ticking time bomb, it's hard to fathom the implications of this in 20, 30 years. I don't even know. There's...
We already, like, how long is, like, Instagram and Facebook and all that shit been around? Like, 10, 15 years?
Something like that.
We're already kind of seeing, like, the effects of, like, what long-term social media use can do. You go to bars, clubs, before COVID, before COVID. People would be in the bars congregating, but it'd be like a group of friends, but they'd all be like this on their phones. It's like, why the hell did you come out to a bar if you're just going to sit on your
Society
phone?
was already destroyed by smartphones.
Yeah, it was already destroyed. And then COVID hit, and it just makes it even worse.
Yeah. No, socialization was already destroyed, but the pandemic just put the nail in the coffin.
Yes, it definitely did. It gave people a reason to be antisocial. That's what I think. It gave people a reason. Well, oh, no, I can't go out because of COVID.
It just gave them a reason to justify it.
Yeah, a little
Which I think
bit.
is what you mean, yeah.
Justify being antisocial, or like, oh, I'm just going to sit on my phone all while I'm sitting in a room full of people.
It's okay, though. You know why? Because Biden cares about the kids.
Oh, okay.
He cares.
Totally.
He wants to make sure that they're all staying at home and, taking showers and shampooing their hair so their hair smells nice.
Even though they're not going anywhere?
And, well, that was just a poor Biden sniffing hair joke that I tried to throw in there.
It was a little poor.
This is from
Not gonna lie. Got that
thepostmillennial.com.
game.
It's fine. It's okay. Like I said, I love meritocracy. If my joke sucks, call me out on it.
It's okay.
Breaking. Biden sides with Chicago Teachers Union to keep kids out of school.
Of course he does.
Biden came down on the side of the Chicago's Teachers Union. Whoa, where have you guys heard the Chicago's Teachers Union before?
I guess.
Have you guys heard anybody talk about the Chicago's Teachers Union before?
We talked about it.
That's right.
We've talked about it several times. Looks like we're frozen, Jeremy. We're about four frames a minute now.
Yeah, I'm getting massive skip frame percentage.
It's the wind, you guys. It's the wind. We told you.
Xfinity is killing us here in Sacramento. They were crying about a storm, and they said that our electricity might even go out. So
We're just waiting We're just sitting here waiting. So
Yeah, there's nothing I can do about it.
sorry, you guys.
Wait, the question is, can they still hear me?
Can you guys hear us? How do we sound? Can you guys still hear us? Is it just the video that's like, that's kind of choppy?
I think they can still hear us. We're gonna power through.
Okay, let's do it.
Speaking to the press on Monday, President Biden, who has pledged to get kids back in school during his first 100 days in office, has come down on the side of the Chicago's teachers union that has refused to go back to work and threatened to strike.
Oh, okay. Oh my god. Like, that's so, wow.
I believe, said Biden, we should make
believe.
school classrooms safe and secure for the students, for the teachers, and for the help that's in those schools maintaining those facilities.
Okay.
We need ventilation systems in those schools. We need testing for people coming in and out of the classes. We need testing for the teachers as well as students. And we need the capacity to know that, in fact, the circumstance in the school is safe and secure for everyone.
Here's a great way to do that, in my opinion. Let
Jesus.
the kids that want to come in and like participate in like regular school, let them. And then the kids that want to be fucking losers and stay at home and do Zoom meetings, let them. Like, why can't we do that?
Well, it's there might be an agenda at hand, an unseen agenda that maybe we're not aware of.
Let me go grab a little bit of a little bit more wine.
A third one already, huh? She's going hard tonight, folks. For example, there's no reason why. The clear guidance will be that every school should be thoroughly sanitized from the lavatories to the hallways. And so this is about making, and none of the school districts that I'm aware of, there may be some public school districts have insisted that all those pieces to be in place. It's really hard to read Joe Biden quotes.
Yeah.
Let me just say that for the record. I read that word for word, I think, and I didn't even comprehend it. I think he's trying to say that we don't sanitize everything, and yeah, I think that's the gist of what he's trying to say. I might add, it's the same kind of thing I hope we can do with small businesses and businesses, making sure they have the capacity to test their workers when they come in, to make sure they have plastic dividers between their booths and their restaurants,
Oh my god.
to make sure they can sanitize. So that's
It's a lot of unnecessary money being kind of tossed around.
your money.
Yeah,
My
my
money.
money.
My money.
Well, mostly your money because you got way more money than I do.
Well, a lot of it's going to the government, so
Yeah, I was gonna
not
say.
happy about that.
You poor thing.
Chicago public schools have been working hard to get kids back into the classroom, yet Chicago Teachers Union, remember guys, we talked about this, the union is separate from the schools, which is separate from the government as well. The union has absolutely refused to work with the school district to do what's best for the kids, which is to educate them in person. Instead, the union is threatening to strike. Oh my God.
Okay, well, go for it.
Demanding that teachers who refuse to get back to work, but cannot give a medical exemption get paid anyway.
Oh, so they want to get paid for not doing anything.
So do you think there's any potential for them to just be operating under the incentive that they're getting paid for doing nothing here? Maybe they started to get paid for doing nothing and they're like, hey, this is kind of nice. I'm getting paid for doing nothing. I want to keep doing this.
Sounds like a bunch of lazy fat fucks that shouldn't be teachers anyways. If they were smart, they would just fire all these teachers that don't want to go back to work and find teachers that do want to go back to work. Because best believe, a bunch of people are graduating from college that are eager to get into that are teachers that are eager to get into the classroom, but because of COVID they can't. Why can't we hire all those guys? Uh-oh.
Oh, we're good. I'm just
Unplugging it?
yeah, I'm unplugging my tablet to see if that helps with the frame rate stuff.
Okay.
No, it's it tells you. I hate to keep drawing back to this comparison, but imagine a society where there's a level of honor in teaching, where the kids come over your own personal minor fears and worries, like, oh, I don't want to get COVID. And we're going to talk about the narratives that the teachers are talking about. The lines that they use are phenomenal. They're talking about, you're sending us to our death, like you're walking them into a volcano. They're literally talking about it like it's going to be a catastrophic, life-threatening event to be sent back into a classroom.
Pretty sure my 5th grade teacher, who's one of my favorite teachers, by the way, Mrs. McDaniel, she's the best. Shout out to you, even though you're not watching. Pretty sure she would be freaking pissed at all this stuff going right now. I'm pretty sure she is. Like, she lives to teach, and like, she's one of my favorites. She's a really good teacher. One of the lessons that she taught me is that life's not fair. The sooner you understand that, the better off you'll be. And it's true.
That's a great lesson.
I mean, I learned that in 5th grade. That's like first day. That's what she told us. She's like, life's not fair.
See, now imagine if you were taught instead that white people are the cause of all of your problems.
Oh, yeah.
And that you need to go out and protest anytime there's something wrong with your life. It's not the
She
result
would
of
never
any.
do that.
It's not the result of any of your actions. It's a result of the system, and the system hates you.
I'm pretty sure that, like I said,
Because that's exactly what these kids are being taught right now.
Oh, I know they are.
And that's not even hyperbole. That's not even exaggeration. That's exactly what these kids are being taught.
Yeah, unfortunately. Sorry, children. Like, y'all have to suffer. Like we said at the beginning of this segment, the ones who really are suffering are the kids. The teachers, they're not suffering. They're all happy. They're like, yeah, we don't get to work. We get to sit on our asses and do nothing.
It's true.
The kids are the ones that suffer the most. They're the ones that they don't get to interact with their friends. They don't get to interact with their teachers. They don't get to interact with anybody anymore. They have to stay at home with their angry parents who are angry that they have to stay home with their little bastards and take care of them and be their school teacher.
Wow, that was a little bit harsh, but
I mean, I don't mean to be harsh, but that's what a lot of parents are feeling. I've talked to quite a few parents that are doing distance learning, and they're fed up. They're like, I want my kid to go back to freaking school. Like, it was a few hours of a break. Like, my sister-in-law, even her job isn't back open yet, and she wants to go. She's like, I'm tired of like being a first grade teacher right now. I don't blame you. Being a first grade teacher is not fun.
well, you gotta think back to who becomes teachers. Who becomes the teachers? Is it high skilled, very logical, rational people?
Not usually.
Or is it generally more feminine, emotional, ideologically tilted people? Right?
That's why Mrs. McDaniel was an OG.
Okay.
Because she, like I said,
Shout out to Miss McDaniel.
this is first day of 5th grade. That's one thing that she told us. She's like, I'm going to tell you guys right off the get-go. If you don't follow my rules and like not do what I say, but if you don't follow my rules, like you're not going to do really well in this class. And she was like, life's not fair. The sooner you learn that, the better off you'll be. And that's something that stuck with me.
Let's go through Chicago's Teachers Union's Twitter here, because I want to show you guys some of the rationale and the emotional anchors that they're using to try and justify not going back into the classrooms. And you can start to see some of their messaging and how they're handling this here. So here's a pinned tweet from them from January 23rd.
Okay.
It says, teachers are truly terrified. This is not the right decision. And they're referring to the decision by the city to send kids back to school, I believe.
Well, how many
yesterday.
teachers are terrified?
All of them.
I doubt that number of all. I doubt that number of all, and that's my solution is the ones that are scared, that are deathly afraid. Okay, you don't have to teach anymore. You're free. You're unburdened of like having to teach here anymore. We'll just get in people that are brave and want to like teach in person. That's what they should do, but they're not going to do it.
Well, see, this is the whole point of being in a union is you can't. It's a lot harder to fire you.
That's why I hate unions.
So yeah, the performance that you can output from the organization is a lot reduced in situations like this where you cannot simply just fire someone because they don't produce.
Oh yeah.
So, it's an argument against unions, but there's arguments for unions as well. So I can't.
I think
talk too much smack.
I think when unions were first thought of, it was for good intentions. And then now, like the good, it's like they say, the road to hell is
Paved with good intentions.
Paved with good intentions. So, like I said, the unions, they started off as something like good, because there were children being used for labor, like they were working they were working in sweatshops and all this stuff. So unions had their purpose, but now the whole union idea and the whole thought process behind it has been just hijacked and has a stranglehold on everybody's mindset. I mean, I was a part of a union. I was part of a food service workers union, and I tried to get involved in it. And once I got involved in it, I was like, this is This is freaking garbage.
There was a screenshot I was trying to find here of a GoFundMe that they raised. The teachers literally started a GoFundMe, and they had like pictures of paint on cars and stuff like that said, "You're sending teachers to their death."
No, you're not.
That's the kind of narratives that we're talking about here with this kind of stuff. So Chicago's teachers unions again continues to be cancer on society, and then think about the implications of this. Chicago is what? One of the most common references that we talk about when we're looking at inequality, racism, especially when you're talking about like black on black violence.
Yes.
What if any do you think is if there is a relation between the education level and then the black on black violence in cities like Chicago?
Oh, it's a direct pipeline.
Do you well that's you would think. You would think that your education is correlated to the level of success you have professionally, but nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about look at how poorly these schools are performing in Chicago, which also, mind you, by the way, a lot of leftists use the argument that, it's teachers funding, schools funding, and this and that. Chicago, last I looked, I think they spend an average of like $15,000 per student per year, and states and counties that get much better performance out of their students. I think in like Utah, they spend like $4,000 per student per year, and they get like massively increased performance results out of it.
Well,
so they cry about money, they cry about inequality, they cry
when
about
you
pandemics.
give them money, money doesn't help.
That money doesn't help. They cry about pandemics. They don't teach their kids. It's the people in the schools.
Yep.
And then guess what? The kids who are raised in those schools go out into the community and they do what? They join gangs. They have no skills because they learned about protesting and gender equality in school, which is not monetizable at all.
Yeah.
There's no skills in there that any employer wants. So what do? They can't even get a job at, Walmart. So they join gangs. They look for alternative ways to get resources.
Yep.
If you don't equip the people to get resources, they're going to find a way to get resources, regardless of the legality.
Whether it's legal or illegal.
I'm just simply raising the question, is there a correlation to the awful teaching in these cities and the violence and gang activity and the inequality, quote unquote, that the leftists love to talk about all the time? Is there any correlation there?
Well, you know what's hilarious? I see all kinds of like leftist propaganda about the school to prison pipeline. So they even know, the leftists know that the schools are the biggest reason why people go to prison. It's a pipeline. These leftist ass teachers don't give a shit about their fucking job. They don't care, like, especially when it comes to like teaching like lower academics of students. Like, there are kids out there that don't know how to read and write.
Dragon Energy brings up a great point, and we didn't even talk about this yet. Great point, Dragon Energy. Thank you for your contribution to chat. Also, welcome to the chat, by the way.
Welcome.
He says kids don't even get coronavirus. So we started. Yeah, if I had an air horn, I'd put it right there.
DJ Khaled.
We talked about at the beginning of the segment how children are the biggest victims of the entire pandemic, and ironically, just like he said, they are the least likely to even die or suffer any kind of adverse effects from the coronavirus.
Teachers.
They're the most healthy. They just get over it in like a
They're
day.
the most equipped to be able to handle coronavirus.
I think the death rate for kids this young is like 0.0001. Like there's a lot of zeros after that point.
Yeah.
Very, very small, if it even happens. And when it does, it makes national news because, oh my God, look at a kid died from coronavirus.
A child dies.
Fear-mongering. Schools are terrible.
Even more reason to lock your state down and make sure your kids don't interact with their students because, well, I think Arian says, Dragon Energy, he says, they say kids spread it to the fat, lazy old teachers that fit young ones. The fit young ones are just lazy and happy with earning without doing any work.
Get out of here with those facts. Look, this is from the Chicago Tribune.
Arian, thank you for your contribution.
Just so you know, I'm not BSing. This is from the Chicago Tribune. This is the link that the CTU Twitter page linked to.
Okay.
The quote in here says, "The pandemic is temporary. Death is permanent," said Union Deputy General Counsel Thad Goodchild.
No shit, Sherlock.
The pandemic is temporary. Death is permanent.
Well, yeah, of
That's
course.
the kind of logic they're trying to use to justify sending your kids into a suicidal spiral and damaging them for the rest of their lives. Ooh, death is permanent.
No wonder these kids that are between 5 and 11 are having suicidal thoughts or wanting to commit suicide when they are being fed this lie that death is permanent. Don't get COVID or else you're going to spread death. Oh my, yeah, that would scare me if I was an 11-year-old.
Yeah, they should start with educating on the death rates, varying by age group. How many of them know what the death rate is for ages 5 to 16, or 5 to 18? 0.00001. None of them know that.
Holly Midlife says one child died in my province, and it was headline news for days.
See, told you.
Sad, but
Told you.
come on, man.
No, that's really it. Anytime a kid dies, they'll pump the shit out of it because they want that fear. They want you to not want to send your kids back to school.
Dragon Energy says, thank you for the mention. Of course, Dragon Energy. That's what we do.
That's how this works. You drop a hot. You drop
Got
a good.
hot take?
No, not a hot take. You drop a good comment. You know, if it meets the meritocratic standards, you will get a shout out.
Well, Jeremy will give you a shout out. I'll give you a shout out whether it's like relevant or not.
This is a fun one from CBSNews.com. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz announces plan for schools to combat pandemic learning loss. And of course, the most important part of recovering from a pandemic, improving racial equity.
Yeah, because that's top priority. What the fuck?
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz announced a new education plan dubbed Due North on Monday for schools in the state ahead of the release of his state budget proposal for the next fiscal year. While state officials did not give specifics on the cost, the plan included a number of proposals that would expand services to children in the state's public schools. The plan's priorities include, here we go, folks, buckle up.
Buckle up.
The plan's priorities include efforts to grow and support the state's core of teachers, establish an equity, diversity, and inclusion center at the Minnesota Department of Education, and expand the academic and educational offerings to students, increasing funding for education, improve academic standards, and ensure every student learns in a safe and nurturing environment.
So, what exactly does that mean? They're going to give more money and more resources.
They're going to throw more. They think that their outcome is due to not having enough money. So they're going to throw cash. They're going to throw stacks of fat cash at the problem and hope that it goes away.
Everything.
Yeah, and part of that is establishing an equity, diversity, and inclusion center at the Department of Education. As if the Department of Education itself wasn't useless enough, they're going to add a subdivision of that focused on equity, diversity, and inclusion.
So how about instead of throwing more money, how about we get parents more involved in everything, because I feel like that's the biggest problem
No. If you see, because if the parents knew what the children are being taught, they would probably pull their kids out of school.
No, but that's the thing. That's why I say we need more parent involvement, because these parents aren't involved. Because if they are involved, they're okay with their kids learning about Black Lives Matter and all this garbage.
Here are the priorities for Tim's plan for everyone in Minnesota, which was the state where George Floyd was killed, by the way, and which they reference as the impetus for this. They say right here, the plan's emphasis on racial equity comes in the wake of national protests over racial disparities in police responses after the killing of George Floyd by a Minneapolis police officer.
Oh my god.
So, yeah. No, yeah.
Oh my god. They don't. They're probably going off the lie about George Floyd. So continue.
Well, of course, one person's Twitter video ended up influencing educational policy. So here are the priorities for this new plan, and let's go through these and see what they say. Every student learning in a safe and nurturing environment. Focus on student relationship building and center discipline on growth, not on punishment. So not really much discipline can happen, probably.
But you can grow through punishment.
The necessary supports for students around mental health and social and emotional learning, which is kind of weird for me. I don't know that language doesn't sound like something that's relevant to 5 to 13-year-olds. Mental health and social emotional learning.
I mean, mental health is definitely important, especially since we know that like kids from 5 to 11 are thinking about suicide already.
Well, now that I know that, yeah, but I didn't know that. Like, why do we have mental health departments for 5 to 11-year-olds?
Well, and then also too, we also are seeing these kids coming out as like transgender before they're even like 14 years old. So that's a mental thing as well. So there's all kinds of fronts that they're battling right now.
Here's where it starts to get fun. Here we go. Expand access to opportunities for students of color and indigenous students. Expand access to opportunities. What does that mean? Expand access to opportunities. You know what the image that conjures up in my head is where you look at scholarships and there's like 1 billion scholarships for African Americans, and there's like 2 for white people.
Yeah.
And even the 2 for white people are just like mislabeled. They're not even supposed to be there in the first place. It's not about expanding access to opportunities. It's about giving them advantages. Establish an Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Center at the Minnesota Department of Education to address systemic racism.
What systemic? Oh my God.
Are you admitting that your teachers are racist?
Right? Are you like?
What are you trying to say there?
You trying to straight up say that like the white teachers that you hire aren't qualified enough to teach the black students?
Provide educational experiences that value student culture and identity.
That just sounds
Student
like
culture and identity. How cultured is an 8-year-old?
yeah. How cultured is an 8-year-old?
Teach them how to do algebra.
Right?
Wait. How monetizable is culture and identity? How much money does that make you in the market? Does anybody in chat have a profession based on culture and identity? Do you make money by being cultured and your identity? Or do you make money off of skills? Like computer programming,
I mean, I'm sure
engineering.
I'm sure there are people who make money off of their culture and their identity, but most people make money off
There's
of
no
skills.
demand for it. There's no demand for it.
Most
You can get an HR position.
people who are working in the field have some kind of skill and some kind of thought diversity.
They slide this one at the end. Develop and provide training for all school staff. All school staff. That means a janitor. On anti-bias practices.
What is an anti-bias practice?
Anti-bias
So if you see
practices.
if you see black kids like beating each other up, you're not supposed to intervene. Just let the black kids just fucking beat the shit out of each other.
If you were to intervene, that would be colonialism.
Yeah, you'd be totally colonial. Like what do they mean by that?
You're imposing an imperialist viewpoint on their conflict.
This is this is just total garbage.
So there's Minnesota's plan for you guys.
Well, I know I'm not moving to Minnesota anytime soon. Well, I've heard from people that live in Minnesota that there's like a huge Somali neighborhood, and they're just kind of like taking over everything with their just.
If the kids get back to
garbage.
school, that's what they have to look forward to. They're going to get taught about their cultural and identity issues, anti-bias practice. Their teacher's going to be, oh my God.
Holly
what a nightmare.
Midlife says, "OMG, kids that age can't even wipe their own butts properly." Yes, they cannot.
Exactly.
Like they can't even like aim for the toilet properly, but we're going to teach them about like how to not be racist. No, that's something that needs to be taught in the home, not in the school.
It gets better, folks. It gets better. Wait, hold
take.
on. Let me look at the like to viewer ratio here. Let's get those likes up, guys.
Get the like up. Everybody that's joined, hit the like button.
those likes.
Come on now.
I know most of you have been here for a while.
Sorry, folks.
Systemic racism, the idea that having a family, personal responsibility, and morals is oppressive to those who don't. That's right. That is.
All
just-
minus one with that hot take. We need to have
Human-
like a whip. We need
Yeah,
to have-
see, Robert knew exactly what I was talking about. Those kind of skills and ideas are only hireable for HR positions. And HR, if anybody who's been in the professional world, you guys know, HR is cancer.
Oh, it is. Total
Absolute
cancer.
HR is just friction in an otherwise operational machine, right? It's just, it's cancer.
It's a total cancer. I mean, all the people that go for African history majors at colleges, they usually go for HR positions, just so the way they can, push that narrative of if you're black, we feel bad for you, so we're going to hire you anyways, even if you're not qualified.
It's not, think of the children. The kids are literally not affected by corona, and we are punishing them. The long-term consequences are going to be absolutely enormous, an entire generation. See, we live in a society that really devalues long-term planning, the denial of short-term gratification, the ability to deny gratification. Nobody's thinking about these long-term implications. It's all about how can I obtain power right now?
Yeah.
How can I get more money right now? How can I feel better right now? So I'll see you guys in 20 years, 30 years. we can come back and look at this and how bad it's going to be. It is going to be absolutely awful.
It's definitely going to be.
It could be
pretty
the
bad.
bubble. It could be the bubble that causes the collapse. They talk about, guys who study intelligence and civilizations, they talk about bubbles where intelligence gets so low, social cohesiveness gets so low that when a collapse happens, you don't even have the ability to maintain basic, like farming, basic functions of society like that. Maybe that could be the bubble that bursts it and throws us back in 30, 40 years. But again, we
I don't
won't know.
even think it's going to be 30, 40 years, Jeremy. I think it's going to be within like.
Well, think what happens when
10 to 20
what happens when
years.
these messed up kids have kids? It just gets worse and worse and worse. Chain reaction down the line.
I think about like my nephew is 7, so in 10 years he's going to be 17, going on 18, and I think how he's being kind of raised in this COVID environment. And distance learning is the thing, and not spending time with your family. Like, hell, even during the holidays, I would come up to him and ask him, I'm like, Jonah, give me a hug. And he'd look at his mom, and his mom would be like, it's okay, you can hug your Auntie Lainey. And that would just break my heart. It's like, dude.
Yeah, imagine that person trying to form a relationship and have a family.
Exactly. It's like you are stunting him from
Planning is racist.
You are stunting him from wanting to hug. Like, he loves hugging me. I'm his favorite. I'm his only biological auntie. So you are stunting him by making him question whether or not he can hug me because of COVID. When he's fine.
Shayon says, when did society start becoming like this?
Oh, it's been a long time in the
That's
making,
a big
Shayon.
question right there, baby. It depends on what you mean by like this.
That's a hot take right there.
But I would defer back to what All Minus One said, and I would say that when we started destroying the family, when we started atomizing the multi-generational family into the single generation family, and then the single generation family into single moms.
Yes.
It was really the destruction of the family, because in all these cases where you see this kind of stuff happening, the family can always step in and either prevent or fix the issue, but they're not present in any of these situations to make that happen. So that to give you a short answer to that. I mean, the answer to that question could be an entire episode in and of itself. Let's continue on from another fun story from California. Let's come local.
Local. Let's bring it.
Let's go here. See what's going on in California, because California is always the canary in the coal mine, right?
Hell yeah.
You see it happening here. It's going to be happening across the country. This is from 4 days ago. This is on jewishpress.com. So I don't want any comments about the source on this one, guys. All right.
We're not anti-Semites here. Look, we're using jewpress.com.
There you go. So California high schools to embrace, quote, critical ethnic studies that say Jews are, quote, privileged. Critical ethnic studies. So we've heard of critical race theory. And this is a modification of that.
Okay.
This is critical ethnic studies in a high school. Again, I have to ask a question.
I mean, Jews are kind of privileged, not going to lie.
Well, they have higher IQ on average, according to some studies, but if you talk about that, you're racist. California high schools embrace critical ethnic studies. How monetizable are ethnic studies?
Oh.
How does that prepare you to get a job and pay off your loan debt?
No, not at all.
Ethnic studies?
No, not at all.
Again, unless you want to go into HR and discriminate potential hirees based off of their race.
Right? Yeah, totally.
Thursday was the final day for public comment on the third draft of California's Department of Education's ethnic studies curriculum in state high schools.
Oh, God.
To put it mildly, this is bad news for California Jews and, by extension, to American Jews everywhere.
That's so sad. I live around a bunch of fucking Jews, so...
Jesus, you don't have to say it like that.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think you've had a little bit too much wine there. In 2016, California state legislators passed Bill AB 2016, mandating the state's Department of Education develop a model ethnic studies curriculum for use in high school ethnic studies courses. This is directly from the government telling you that Jews are privileged.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then you can draw whatever conclusions you want from that. They don't matter. They deserve less. They need some of the leftists now, in response to the privilege argument, they're saying that the privileged party needs to have actions taken against them in order to obtain equality.
Oh, okay.
Equality is not about just raising up those who don't meet the level of privilege that some do.
We need to bring down people.
They're actually saying that now.
Oh,
starting
okay. I mean, that's what we've talked about for a few streams.
not in this article, but we've always known that's what it was all about. They're just trying to skirt around that fact by wording it in a different way. So continuing off in the article, although the bill stated that the goal of such courses was, quote, preparing pupils to be global citizens with an appreciation for the contributions of multiple cultures,
I don't like that.
unquote, the politically motivated educators appointed by the CDE to help draft the model curriculum had other ideas.
Why do they have to get like a whole nother freaking type of teacher to teach them? What is CDE?
All high schools in California.
California
That's what we're talking
Department of
about.
Education.
That's the scope that we're talking about here, people. All of the high schools in the most populated state in the entire country, the fifth biggest economy in the entire planet. Is it still the fifth? Maybe it's
Probably
it's
not
gone down.
even now.
But you get my point. The first draft of the curriculum focused exclusively on 4 core groups and a few others favored by committee members, such as Arab Americans. It also diverged sharply from the politically neutral AB 2016 in its promotion of partisan political agendas and activism. So that's a big part of school nowadays, in case you're not aware.
It's all
Promoting
about activism.
political agendas and activism. Teachers are actively teaching their kids how to protest. And they're probably making assignments out of it. Go to the Women's March protest, write me a summary, talk to 5 people, tell me what they said, write an essay on it. This is actually happening in real life. For instance, equating capitalism with racism. That's in the lesson plan
Of course.
of California high schools. Lionizing, quote, revolutionary warriors and advocating for student engagement in, quote, tactics of resistance and, quote, direct action, such as anti-Israel boycotts. That is the agenda for what they're teaching your kids these days.
It'd be anti-Israel.
How to protest, how to engage in tactics of resistance, direct action, including anti-Israel boycotts. They're not. I don't think they're saying go out and boycott Israel. They're just saying,
These poor Jewish kids being raised in this garbage.
these poor Jewish kids with their rich parents.
I mean, they're probably not being taught this kind of stuff in their schools because they probably go to Jew school, so they don't have to be exposed to this.
All we're talking about, definitely an argument for private schools. Again, privatization over government is definitely going to get you better outcomes. Not surprisingly, the first draft was met with enormous outrage from the public. Whoa.
Oh no! Too sensitive a mouse there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Did you unlock your mouse or something?
The first draft was met with enormous outrage from the public, especially many in the Jewish community who were incensed by the anti-Zionist thrust of the curriculum and its promotion of BDS, boycott, divest, sanction,
Okay, I was going to
Israel.
say, what is BDS?
Yeah, basically the anti-Israel movement.
Okay.
And by the fact that Jewish Americans and instruction on the anti-Semitism were left out of the document. Jewish Americans and instruction on anti-Semitism were left. So there was no anti-Semitism, which is interesting. This is what confused me about this article. And maybe some of you guys in chat can help me out. I don't understand. The leftists love to call anti-Semitism on everything. The right does. If you even mention Jews, I mean, we're just talking about them, so we're anti-Semitism.
Yeah, we're anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic, just by that fact.
Even though I have probably a little Jew in me.
So they love to talk about anti-Semitism, but now we're seeing this agenda being pushed that is anti-Jewish. And some people will say in certain circles that the Jews are the ones behind all this stuff to begin with. So if that's the case, how does that reconcile in this case?
I don't understand how it reconciles either.
It's confusing to me on several levels.
Well, if the Jews are the ones that are behind the anti-Jew like stuff being, pushed into schools, like that doesn't make sense. Why would if the Jews were behind the anti-Jew stuff, like that doesn't make any sense. They wouldn't be anti themselves. They would want to be like pushing the Jewish stuff. It would be like opposite Nazi Germany. Instead of, pro-Germany stuff. Like we saw in Nazi Germany, it would be pro-Jew stuff. But you're not seeing that in schools. I mean, I haven't been to school in a while, but...
Most profoundly of concern to the Jewish community, while both revised versions include lessons on Jewish Americans, the portrayal of Jews, filtered through the lens of critical ethnic studies, the new buzzword, is as white and privileged, clearly on the oppressor side of the class divide. So we've seen, in recent weeks, we've seen Asians reclassified as white.
Yes.
And now we're seeing that California high schools want to teach everybody that Jews are white and privileged.
Well, I mean, most Jews are white, but I
don't even know how that works. I mean, they don't have dark skin.
Yeah, they don't.
So I'm not even going to get... That's a whole...
Yeah, Jews technically are white, but to say that they're privileged, it's no. Like, I wouldn't say that Jews are
You got that high IQ privilege.
I mean, they're smart and they deserve to be. They deserve like where they are in life, I think.
At a time when anti-Jewish sentiment, hostility, and violence have reached truly alarming levels, indoctrinating students to view Jews as, quote, white and, quote, racially privileged is tantamount to putting an even larger target on the back of every Jewish student.
They're just jealous.
Well, you have to, I hate to draw references and comparisons to Nazi Germany, but if you start calling Jews privileged, and we already know that being called privileged means that they're going to take actions against you,
right?
In a punitive measure, not just in a corrective measure for the people who aren't privileged, in a punitive measure against people who are privileged. They're going to get less admissions into college. They're going to be less likely to get hired if you have a last name, Stein or Berg or whatever it is.
Or some kind of Jew last name,
Well,
Rosenberg.
That's what I mean. Yeah, they're going to implement actions against this group because of that. And it's not just Jews. I mean, the white people are in there too, but nobody cares about white people anymore. We already know that we're privileged.
Yeah, white people are already privileged, with names like David and John and Steve. They're so privileged.
So that's coming. California high schools.
Thanks, California. Appreciate you.
If the kids can make it to high school without committing suicide, that's what they're going to be taught. That's the dystopian future that we live in. To put it as succinctly as possible.
And then if you have one Jew in your class,
it's so absurd that you can't help but laugh.
That's why I'm laughing. I'm not laughing because I agree. I'm laughing because it's so off the cuff, off the wall that it's mind numbing. I have to laugh. Like that's the only way I can cope. It's the only way I can cope in being in dystopic California. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's catch up on some chat, y'all.
If you are a parent in that school, you are better off encouraging them by promoting Anti-Israel Day, where all non-Jews wear an Antifa patch and Jews are not permitted. Yes. Some say it's to pursue the victim narrative. Yeah, see, so Laura B. Dannon, brand new name, never seen that. Welcome to the chat, by the way.
Welcome to the chat, Laura.
She does drop a good suggestion in that if there's like I said, some people say the Jews are behind all this stuff anyway. They could try to drum up a kind of victim narrative against themselves by doing this kind of stuff. So it's a valid proposition. I'm not going to comment on the validity of it, but on the merits of it, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how true that is.
But we appreciate the comment, Laura.
It's definitely a possibility. Even before Hitler, people didn't like the Jews because they thought they killed Jesus. Well, yeah. Jews have always been persecuted.
The Jews have always, since the dawn of time. I mean, Jesus technically was a Jew, but,
But again, who runs all the media companies? Who runs all the banks? Who runs Hollywood?
Bunch of Jews.
Well, I mean, don't say it that way.
That's how the leftists would say it. Bunch of Jews. Ugh.
If you can make it to college and you can get into some of these, advanced programs for like computer engineering, science and stuff like that, you may have noticed, if you're like me, maybe you've gone to college and you, I forgot what camera we're on right now. We're on this one right here. If you've gone to college, I went to school for cybersecurity. I have a degree in cyber defense.
Yes, you do.
It's a very brand new, fairly niche degree.
Hell yeah.
Cutting edge.
Get in there, Jeremy.
Top of the line technology.
You'll be the top of the class.
And, actually, I was the first one to graduate with that degree. It was so new.
Hell yeah.
But that's just a random fun fact. But in my class, there was only one female. So...
Bet she didn't do very good.
No, she graduated. She did fine.
That's good.
The argument has always been, if you were in any kind of engineering STEM field in college, you would know, this is a real thing. They talk about gender inequality and how women aren't going into STEM fields because they feel discriminated, because these fields are sexist, because they appeal to men. For various reasons, they'll find some way to victimize the woman and say that the inequalities and outcome is due to some kind of ism, some kind of systemic problems.
Some kind of racism.
So how do we fix these problems? Okay. Well, we have a potential solution here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, let's
read it.
This is from edsurge.com.
EdSurge.
I don't know. Yeah, EdSurge. I think they're talking about a study from some school, but the headline might grab your attention. It says, human bias is everywhere in tech. To fix it, we need to reshape the computer science education.
What? Okay.
right.
Let's just type in. Okay.
Hot off the press from yesterday.
Hot off the press.
As we transition into new year reckoning with a violent insurrection organized on social media, you guys can
Violent.
you guys can already tell where this is going.
Right?
You know who wrote this article. We all know where this is going. The spread of disinformation about a deadly pandemic and breakdowns in distance learning, it would be remiss of us not to acknowledge the impact of technology on every facet of our society. We have all been equally unified in our frustrations and concerns that we are inching closer to a dystopian future. No, my friend,
We're in it.
we are already there.
We are already there. This person's behind. This person's been like 4
God.
years behind.
This next sentence makes me think the author might even just be memeing with this. So they continue on and say, 2020 shed more visibility in how racism, sexism, and other isms. That's in the article. I'm reading
Other
that.
isms.
That's in. They typed that out. They said
Homophobia-ism.
other isms.
Other isms.
How racism, sexism, and other isms permeate technology and will continue to create divides that may become irreparable. In the tech world, there have been DEI efforts, legislation targeting the racist impact of technology. What? Racist impact of technology? I've never even heard of that before.
I'd never heard of that either.
Warnings from ethicists and independent bias ratings created to rein in the harm, but none of these solutions address the real issue. Humans.
Oh, okay.
Cue the Terminator theme.
Dun dun
Dun,
dun
dun,
dun
dun,
dun.
dun, 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 dun. We must confront how the destructive harm unfolding through our technologies today is a reflection of the implicit bias and prejudice of the designers building the technology. Implicit bias is this great buzzword that they can throw in anywhere
Yes.
to kind of claim that some malicious intent exists when there's no way to prove or otherwise measure that it is there. Implicit bias is it's one of the most valuable words of this century.
It's an umbrella term.
It's one of the most valuable words of this entire century. One of the most impactful phrases of this entire century.
This person,
implicit bias.
They have implicit bias.
They're going to use that phrase to implement so many messed up procedures,
But
laws.
if you really look down and dirty of it, everybody has an implicit bias.
Well, that's the whole point of it being implicit, is that everybody has it and there's nothing you can do about it.
There's nothing you could do
But
about
they think it can be fixed and they're going to do anything they can to fix it.
Well,
and this is how.
And I think that they think that like all white people have an implicit bias and all black people have an implicit bias when that's not
No,
true.
everybody on earth has implicit biases.
Okay, well then don't be surprised if you see a black person like has more conservative leanings. You know, because that to me is the implicit bias. They should be there, but they're not.
Let's see here. Where was I? Okay, many designers don't know how to identify harmful bias. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about designers of these technologies. So they're saying that people who are programming the applications don't know how to identify harmful bias and are completely unaware of how their own biases shape the products they build. So how can we start addressing this issue head on in 2021? Education offers a solution.
No.
There we go. We've got
Their education.
So on top of teaching critical ethics or ethnic theory and ethnicity theory and critical race theory and how to riot, how to protest, how to take
How to be a racist.
how to what's the word they use, revolutionary action, how to on top of all that,
Even though they
how to
hate
be
the
racist,
Revolutionary War.
how to be on top of how being taught how to be gay in your math class.
And about blood play
We're gonna
and
teach you how
pup play.
to fix implicit biases that can't even be measured. Definitely gonna be.
Oh,
I can tell
okay.
it's gonna work out well.
Yeah, totally.
We need to move on beyond the quick fixes that are not working and invest in next generation of technologists by radically reshaping why and how we teach computer science. The natural place to start is within the broad but influential community of computer science education, which includes teachers, administrators, curriculum designers, and anyone involved in shaping how the future technologists learn. See, listen, this sentence is, oh man, this is.
I know. I was gonna say
I never read this sentence before. I didn't pre-read this paragraph, but they've revealed the entire plan here.
the natural place to start.
If you want to influence the future and brainwash an entire generation or multiple
you
generations,
need to get into the computer science department.
nope, you definitely 1.5 wines too deep. You have to get to the teachers, administrators, and curriculum designers. What did we just talk about in the last article? The curriculum. They're modifying the curriculum to include BS like critical ethnicity theory, how Jews are privileged. It's about controlling the curriculum. And anyone involved in shaping how future technologists learn. Our young people need to be technically proficient in Python, R, and Lisp to build AI.
I don't even know what
Those
that
are just
is.
programming languages, just different programming
I was
languages.
going to say, I don't know what that is, so.
And machine learning and other emerging technologies. However, computing skills are not enough. We need to equip your young people with knowledge, skills, and moral courage. There's that moral anchor.
Moral courage.
The moral anchor.
You need to stand up to these racists that are running the computer world.
To design equitable tech that dismantles existing power dynamics, protects non-dominant groups, represents everyone, and prioritizes the well-being of society.
So essentially, like,
Have you ever heard a more propagandized sentence in your entire life?
super propagandized. We need to protect the non-dominant groups. Okay, that's
Wait, hold on. If non-dominant groups, who's dominating education right now? Who's dominating college in the higher ed institutions?
Asians.
Well, yeah, but leftists.
Yeah, leftists
The
and
professors
Asians.
are all like 89, 90% leftists. So by their own logic, they're the dominant ones in education. So they're saying, I think what they're trying to say is that we need to get more Republicans in tech education.
I mean, down on
Of
the
course,
down low,
We all know that's not what they're trying to say.
they're
But
trying to say we need more leftists and leftist thinking people.
yes, of course.
A bunch of communist Russians up in here, and a bunch of communist North Koreans and communist Africans.
Prioritize racial literacy and history.
What?
In case you guys forgot, we're talking about computer science degrees here.
Since when does computer
Computer
oh my God.
science. We need to prioritize racial literacy and history. It's important for all young
Okay.
people to believe they can be creators of technology, and it's also reckless for us to admit that technology has historically been designed as a tool to surveil and oppress non-dominant communities.
That's not true at all.
Whoa.
So they're basically saying like black and minorities cannot afford to be in computer science?
No, they're saying that technology is a tool of white supremacy. They're just using extra words to describe it that way.
I think that there's just basically, I see it as they're saying like, when they say non-dominant communities, they're saying like black and brown people.
No, yeah, non-dominant is just a synonym for marginalized.
Yeah, marginalized, like black and brown people.
So these people think they're smart because they've invented a new phrase, non-dominant, but we all know they're just trying to refer to marginalized.
They're black and brown people.
Prioritizing racial literacy means we must acknowledge how white supremacy has been ingrained into technology and collectively recognize that tech has not been neutral and that it has the power to harm.
Oh, so all those Hindus and all those Indian people, all those Indian motherfuckers that work for Google and Twitter and Instagram, that's
We don't want to talk about this.
yeah, we don't talk about
We're
those.
about to get the answer to how long it takes for an article to mention Nazis. Here we go. Examples might include how early punch card tabulators were used in Nazi Germany
Oh gosh.
by the Third Reich to process racial censuses of Jewish German citizens. So that's right, guys. Time cards are white supremacist
Oh, okay.
because they were used in Nazi Germany.
Yeah, the Nazis came up with that idea.
And how some of the first film stock standard white skin tones. Today we have I don't know what they're trying to say. How the first film stock centered white skin tones. So they're saying the first films were featuring white people.
Well,
Come on, people. Jesus
Come on,
Christ,
man.
reaching. Oh my God. Today we have technologies like facial recognition software, which centers whiteness. What is this? This has got to be a meme.
it's got to be a troll.
This article has to be a troll. And can't
you think
identify.
it is, Jeremy?
It centers on whiteness and can't identify black women while also being designed to surveil and police black and brown communities.
What? Oh, okay. Sounds like they're just.
There's so many buzzwords in this. I'm having a hard time even reading it.
What is this article from?
edsurge.com.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
Pushing for the anti-white supremacy in technology education. So that if you actually, it used to be, a few years ago when I was in college, because I graduated late, you could still go into STEM fields, engineering, technology, math, and you were safe from the social justice bullshit.
yeah,
There was no social justice in my cybersecurity classes.
of course not.
Now, they knew that was kind of the last safe haven for rationality, logic, male-dominated, stuff like that. They're going after it now. They're not going after it because they perceive some kind of, outcome inequality. They're going after it because they know that it's producing productive people, predominantly men,
White men,
who don't care about all this stuff. So they're
white
trying
or Asian, because
trying
white and Asian are the same thing nowadays.
and Jews. They're trying to talk to you. They're trying to talk you into believing that by going into these programs, you're creating some kind of programs or products that are perpetuating white supremacy and trying to guilt trip people into putting social justice into the computer science programs.
Yeah, so instead of putting your money towards computer science and cybersecurity and things that'll make you money,
This is good.
put your money towards African studies, put your money towards gender studies, put your money towards underwater basket weaving and lesbian dance theory.
So how do they recommend we move forward? This is great right here. We can gain inspiration from the 1619 project.
Cue the
Fail trombone.
cue the failed trombone.
And the Zen Education Project. I don't even know what that is. I'll have to research.
Zen Education
I'll have to
Project.
research that. Does anybody in chat know what the Zen Research Project is? Which have provided us with the tools to face our multifaceted histories in the hopes of repairing and shaping our futures. These projects prioritize racial literacy, help young people reflect on bias, and recognize multiple perspectives. How about we prioritize monetizable skills?
Right?
How about we prioritize what the market is demanding?
Right?
And then you get out of college and you cry about being in debt and not being able to pay it off because you have to be a barista at Starbucks. And then you wonder why you can't make any money. Because when you went to your computer science degree program, you were taught about racial bias, racial literacy, instead of actually learning how to code in Python.
Computer science should be the one place where it doesn't matter what your skin color is, because anybody of any skin color can learn how to use a computer.
And what did we say last week? We say that the method by which they can keep perpetuating this dog's... I'll refrain from...
Dog crap.
Yeah. They say we can work with our social studies departments and across other disciplines to ensure our students have a historical understanding of technology. They will always refer back to history to justify their push towards an unattainable perfection. That's how this whole stuff works. That's how the machine moves forward. Even in something, when they're trying to justify reforming computer science, they use the same exact argument. We have to get a historical understanding of technology and how it's been used to oppress marginalized communities. Always going to refer back to history to justify their push towards an unattainable perfection.
Yeah, I mean, history is a great way to look back and be like, yeah, look at how terribly black and brown people were treated.
Yeah, exactly. And it's never going to go away either. You can always go back to history to say, oh no, we need to change today. We need to change current things because of how we were treated 200 years ago. And guess what? In 100 years, do you think it's going to get any better? No. We need to change what's happening today because of how we were treated 300 years ago. And in 200 years from now, it's going to go back. We need to change today because of how we were treated 400 years ago.
Guaranteed in like 200 years, the children and the children's children and the children's children's children that spawn from my body, they're not going to feel, I hope, this is my goal, that the children that spawn from me don't feel any ounce of guilt about where they come from and where they spawn from. So that way they don't feel the need to like just
There's an easy way to do that.
sponsor that's lunacy.
There's a very easy way to do that. Do you know how?
Communities, small communities.
Breakaway communities.
Breakaway societies.
Don't let the institutions like these educational institutions have any influence over your lives or the lives of your children. All minus one with a $10 super chat.
Thank you, all minus one.
Thanks, buddy.
You're our best friend.
Appreciate it. He says this is a Yuri-style indoctrination and demoralization. Yes. To make society equal, all must be oppressed, Harrison Bergeron style, except for the oligarchs who need power for your benefit. Power corrupts.
The oligarchs, or the what do they call them in Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto? They call them the bourgeoisie.
Yep. We're just the dirty proletariat.
Yeah, it's no matter what how you categorize it, it's all the same. It's the bourgeoisie, the oligarchs that are really the ones that are in favor of all this power that they got.
If we were to speculate on why all this stuff is happening, one could theorize that they're trying to keep you, the general public, in a state of perpetual stress, of perpetual anger, so that you will be easily manipulated into whatever it is that they want you to believe. If they want you to believe that, Russian collusion happened, they want you to believe that
The very fine people hoax.
fine people hoax, that they want you to believe that, this Supreme Court judge was at a frat party and groped this chick 40 years ago,
Right.
based off of a journal entry. They can get you to believe anything if you're in a constant state of mental stress and because you're malleable. You're like soft clay that hasn't dried yet. They can do whatever they want with you.
Yes.
When you're emotionally receptive, they can pump any kind of narrative they want into your head to keep you as, consumers, just generating tax dollars for whatever kind of programs they want.
I see it happening. I see it happening in front of me.
Just speculating on the theory of why they would want to do this.
Commander Osa says the 1619 project isn't even historically accurate. Why would it should be used in tech where accuracy is required? Because they're changing the playing field for tech.
It's a scope creep. Okay, these social justice. You thought tech was safe, like I said, but they're creeping into these. Somebody else in chat said that computer science is it's pure binary. It's all logic. That's really all it is.
It should be.
It's not safe. No field is safe, even one that's purely, actually, factually, just based on logic, literally zeros and ones.
A naked guy says everything is white supremacism. Of course, don't you know? Everything. Even, the guy, the freaking black army that had went into Atlanta, Georgia all armed and shit. That's white supremacist. Just because they came in with arms. They had guns ready to go.
Josiah says, "You're going to have children?"
I mean, I want to.
He's talking about you.
I want babies. For me, at least. I want at least one from me.
And don't ask me how that works. I haven't figured that one out
Trust me, it's not an easy path.
This is utterly bonkers. As I said, I thought I was far right. And then I realized that the world around me has gone nuts. I was just normal.
You are normal, Dragon Energy.
No, you're an alt-centrist.
You're an alt-centrist just like us.
Just like us.
Yeah.
The objective observers.
Unfortunately, if you're not far right or far left, you're just alt-centrist like us, and you're just in the middle just going, God, both of these sides are fucking nuts.
Hey, Dragon Energy agrees, perpetual fear and confusion, I think that's...
Dragon Energy, are you from the UK? Because I've seen in previous chats that you've mentioned the UK a lot, so...
People who can't think for themselves, just follow the herd, leftist majority. Well... Again, okay, now
not just leftists. A lot of the people on the right I know would fly off the cliff with the herd just to be on the herd of the right.
Let's see if we can, draw some relation here to that study that we talked about. Well, the people who are not biologically successful, the people who are unattractive,
they're disgusting and mutants.
The mutants, as we refer to them here.
The mutants.
They're the ones pushing this stuff. Why? Because my theory is anyway that we all know this is part of a bigger picture of demoralization, like All Minus One said. Thanks again, Bill, for that super chat.
Yeah, we love you, Bill.
But I think there's another angle to it that you could take. They're seeing these are the most successful degree programs that you could get. Okay, cybersecurity. You guys. I can definitely recommend getting a cybersecurity degree.
Do it.
Make big money. It's computer science, engineering, mathematics. Mathematics sounds kind of boring, but you could probably make some money doing it, something with that. Those are the most successful fields. So they're looking, the way that communism, socialism works, and the way that mutant brains work, is that when you're in a society of other animals who are successful, someone who's up here, you have to find ways to bring them down here because you can't raise yourself up.
Yeah.
So again, they favor equality because equality is a method for them to bring these high earners, these computer science majors, these engineering majors down by infecting their programs with this mind virus.
Yes.
It'll lower their value over time, bring it slowly over. It's not like an immediate gratification strategy. Yeah. It's a long-term strategy where they're going to bring these people down to their level.
So in essence, the computer, the cybersecurity officers are the wolves. And then the leftists are the coyotes. And the only way the coyotes can defeat the wolves is when the wolves are in a weakened state. And the wolves are either old or sickly or just mentally inefficient.
Yeah.
And then the coyotes they just pounce on it like it's just gold.
Sure, that
But
analogy
at the end
works. Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I see it. Is the smart people are the wolves, and they're being brainwashed by the coyotes to like lessen themselves and then get eaten by the coyotes. I'm sorry, if I was a wolf, I would not want to get eaten by a coyote. That's like the most ultimate disrespect in nature.
This is why we need masculine leadership, because men are better at thinking without emotion. Unfortunately, we want the approval of women, and that's why they start with female supremacy.
Yeah, that's why we need to stop giving a crap about female
That's the-
like approval, because
well-
females don't even know what they want.
Well, that's one of the things that we talked about on our podcast with All Minus One on the Ends Justify the Memes, is the cuttlefish strategy. The cuttlefish will
Yes.
disguise themselves
As males or females.
to get in with the females. So now we see weak men being like, "Oh yeah, no, I love feminism."
I love it.
Wait, oh, there's a girl in my computer science class. There's a female here. I love feminism.
I love it. He
I love
sounds
when-
great.
Yeah, exactly. No, so they adopt this, and then they help perpetuate that cycle. It might sound trivial for those who haven't participated or been in a classroom for computer science or engineering recently. I've seen this with my own eyes. I know this kind of stuff is happening. They will placate for the female,
They'll placate so that way they could possibly get laid.
and this is reproducible across nature, guys. You can look up how baboons behave. There's an alpha male and the weak ones who can't get with the
And
females,
the weak ones are usually like just connive their way to get with the females.
or just straight up rape, because that's the only option they have. This is repeatable throughout all kinds of biological, natural societies, and we're just seeing this happening now in humans.
So Dragon Energy responded to me asking if he was from the UK. He said, "Yeah, UK, gigabyte here. Thanks,
Great
lads."
Britain.
Oh, Great Britain.
Gigabyte.
I said gigabyte. Like, I'm sorry, Great Britain.
Jesus. Okay, I'm imposing a limit for 2 wines for you from now on.
Okay,
Gigabyte.
that's fine.
I'm using my masculine authority to impose restrictions upon you.
Yes, Daddy. Whatever you say.
That's the correct response. What's all this furry talk? It's true.
Oh my gosh! Don't even get me started on the furries.
Josiah says, I agree with everything you said. It's a victim mentality that causes them to not achieve anything.
Yes.
So they want to drag others down so they can be like them, miserable, angry, and lazy.
Yes. Instead of them like upping their game, they want all the people who are like have upped their game and are like, we're on this plane. They want those people to like bring themselves down to their fucking plane.
All of life can be explained by natural selection and competition. You either achieve higher,
You either
or you
rise
find
to the
some strategy.
occasion.
You find a strategy to bring those people down.
You either rise to the occasion or manipulate people to bring themselves
Yeah,
down
if
to
you
match
think, if you think humans are immune to the biological forces that exist in all other natural animal communities, you're
No.
very wrong. It's
we're
just
mammals too.
it's just slightly more complex because we have internet and electricity.
we
That's
have,
the only
we have electricity, we have internet, we have the ability to freely think
and language.
and language, multiple
but
different languages.
At the core, at the essence of it, it's no more complicated than watching a community of baboons struggle
true.
for to procreate with the alpha
I
male.
agree
and
with you
stuff.
on that, Jeremy, because at the end of the day, we are mammals, and mammals generally stick to like a certain pattern of behavior. That's why we fall under the category of mammals.
Marxist gender stereotypes realize the comp sci and engineers do not take their classes. Our lib arts electives are history, psychology, and sociology.
Well, we need to just get rid of sociology altogether because it's just garbage.
In Unix circles, the wolves are the, quote, graybeards, old school Unix guys. They still run a shitload of the internet.
Of course they do, because they're the smart
Yeah,
ones.
those guys are wizards. I think I'm a wizard. Those guys are the wizards.
Those are like the old ass wolves that like refuse to die. Those are the ones that are left on. Those are the ones that are left on teaching about computer science and cybersecurity and all that stuff.
No, they're not immune. Nothing is immune, which is why, again, this is a perfect example of why you cannot. So look at what we just talked about just today. We talked about the fact that before the pandemic happened, before these schools were getting indoctrinated with this curriculum, kids were already screwed up.
Oh yeah.
Already massive levels of suicide and mental illness because of social media. Then you add in the pandemic, which means they're all remote. They're losing their ability to socialize. They're losing their interaction with their teachers. They're losing the physicality of interacting with other people. Then you throw in the fact that once they get to high school, if they can make it through grade school, if they can make it to high school, They're going to get taught about how Jews have privilege.
Privilege.
They're going to
White people in general have privilege.
they're going to be trained to think of everything through a racial lens, so that if something goes wrong in their life, they're going to find an excuse.
Just blame it on race.
To blame it on some externality as opposed to themselves, which you should always do. If I had a high school, my curriculum would be always look for the source of the problem in yourself first before blaming any externalities. My school would produce more successful people by just teaching that than all the California high schools put together.
I think so.
So if you can make it through high school, if you can make it through that BS, you're going to get into, and if you want to get a monetizable degree like computer science and engineering, you're going to get taught about how, oh, well, in the past, these programmers, they made these racist programs that were used to marginalize.
They use master slave.
That's right. Yeah, we talked about the
We talked about the master slave.
We talked about the master slave terminology and how they were going to stop using that, which is a common phrase in technology.
I had no idea.
And your programs are white supremacist, and you have to have somebody's race in mind. You have to have your bias in mind when you create these programs. How many people do you think can make it through all of those steps and then come out as a normal person?
No, none of them. Very few.
Yeah.
Very few.
That's what I'm saying. And then on top of that, there's a sixth item here, and that's the debt. So if you can make it through all that and college, and then you have a mountain of debt on top of all the mental illness that you've been trained into, what do you think that's going to mean for the future of America in 30, 40, 50 years?
Nothing.
It's going to be grim dark, exactly as the title of the stream implies.
It's going to be just garbage.
I hope that I communicated the path to the grim dark future of America accurately here, because everything that we talked about is not some niche. It's only happening in California. It's only happening.
It's happening across the country.
In the entire country, and
across the world too.
If you don't believe me, go look at Biden's. Today he did a press conference and he signed like 3 new executive orders exactly on this topic.
Okay.
And one of them was like preventing discrimination against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders.
Even though they've been discriminated against quite a bit.
And some other, he also signed some executive orders relating to education and equality in education. It's all about equality. Today was all about equality. And this is going to be a priority for the Biden administration. It's going to get amplified and accelerated in the next 4 years. It's not something that's going to be going away. If best case scenario, a Republican president comes in 4 years and just signs executive orders to reverse all this, it will not matter.
It won't.
Because the leftists will still control all these institutions. They'll control the entire pipeline.
Yep.
All the kids who are in the public institutions for schooling are going to be coming out through all of those different things that we mentioned, out of the end of the conveyor belt, at the end of the factory, the production line, as absolute mentally ill zombies.
School to prison pipeline that they talk so much about.
And it's not going to be good. I don't even know how
Robert Anderson says no. The old ass wolves. Wait, can you scroll up for me, Jeremy? Says no. The old ass wolves who refuse to die are the cabal and the Fortin guy who only work for the government, who still run 1980s mainframes. Well, I agree. Those old ass wolves need to die. Like, they've survived too long. They need to go.
Personally, I believe it's the breakdown of the falling Christian values. In the 60s, it was the sexual revolution and drugs, and these people either taught bad values or taught their kids bad values.
Hell yeah. No, that's when all the gays came out, too.
It was the start of the end. Yeah, now the U.S. promotes drugs, alcoholism, sex before marriage, et cetera, and movies and music, yeah.
Homosexuality, too. We got to get on that. All them homosexuals coming out in the 60s.
JPB did a video by Rebel Media years ago with Lawrence Southern. In it, they talked about a study they did with those who are smart and controlling and the useful idiots. It is psychologically repeatable. Well, you can guarantee they're using science to some degree. They're referencing some kind of studies to make the implementation of these ideas in these programs as efficient as possible. They're not just doing it by random chance.
Project MK Ultra.
Might have something to do with that.
I think MK Ultra never ended, personally. But
it's going to be cold and gray, and it's going to last for the rest of your life. Yes.
Like the dark winter that Biden described during the debates.
Another Groundhog Day quote.
Hell yeah.
If SCOTUS does not set up and prevent the Congress from enacting a bill of attainder convicting a private citizen Donald Trump, then the rule of law means nothing. Get your gun.
Gotta pull out my gun.
I'm not sure exactly what that one means, but
we'll have to research that a little bit more, but, appreciate the perspective.
Learn Unix, says Dragon Energy. Well, you know what's funny and interesting? It kind of ties in with what happened recently. Joe Biden removed the protections against China accessing our infrastructure, technology, electrical grid. technology.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to spit that one out. What people don't understand is that all the technology that runs our infrastructure, our energy, hydroelectric, all that kind of stuff, it's all run on incredibly old technology.
Yes.
That is
Outdated.
it's never been updated. It's not connected to the internet directly. It's on air gap networks. So it's all running the really old stuff.
So
And
it runs really good.
for some reason, Trump signed an executive order to increase the protections for those networks. I think that was what he did on the last day. He signed an executive order for like cybersecurity.
Instead of protecting them, he needs to upgrade them.
Joe Biden, well, that's why they're running old technology, because you can't really upgrade them.
Yeah, I guess.
If you upgrade them, you're going to break it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how IT works. And Joe Biden removed those protections from China accessing the infrastructure of our electrical grid.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so that raises
Sounds great.
some question marks, but that's just a kind of little bit of an offshoot of what he said, because he's right. You know, all these old systems, they run old technology, but they maintain all of your infrastructure. Hydroelectric, electricity. It's all run off like Windows 98.
Oh man, we got the Prudent Patriot in the chat. I follow him. I followed him for a little while on my YouTube. I saw a few videos of his where he did a few videos of
That's,
Dave Rubin at Sac State.
No, that's Jeff. I think that's Jeff, right?
I don't know. I just recognize his name because I followed his
I did see that.
YouTube channel, and because he's he's like you. He's one of the few people who actually post videos from Sacramento.
No, yeah, that's Jeff. I did see that article, Jeff. Yeah, he was a member of the local Republican Party here in Sacramento, and they tried to remove him for association with the Proud Boys or something like that.
Hell no.
So
no way. We like you, Jeff. I mean, I do. Like I said, I follow you. I've followed your channel for a while, just because you're one of the few people in Sacramento that actually goes to like Republican leaning events.
You're now a white supremacist for even knowing him. So
I know.
Sorry to.
It's fine. I'm okay with being a white supremacist. I'm mostly white anyways.
Kick you out of Applebee's or whatever you try to do.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Applebee's will let me be there.
Yeah, so, we have some solutions being mentioned in chat. Like, Josiah says that the overall Christian values of conservative apparel, modesty, soberness was not passed down to the next generation.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. The question is, and I don't want to leave you guys open-ended on this. I'm not going to just tell you that the future of America is grim dark because of all of what we just talked about. And I think I laid it out pretty well. But how do you fix it? So, are there solutions? Can we fix the system?
There's many.
First option is, and most people go directly to this, they say, well, we need to take back control of the educational institution.
No, that's not going to happen.
So we've already been saying that for 10 years, and
right?
we haven't made any progress.
Nothing's happened.
So that's not going to work. I don't think, and even if that is, that's a long-term solution that's going to take
a lot of time.
Half of a century.
It's going to take convincing people to like vote for other than Democrats to lead the education system.
See, there's another another aspect of it, or another proposed solution. I don't think that'll work either. I think, and this is my personal solution, the one that I'm following myself, is to remove yourself from those institutions altogether. Remove yourself from the influence of those institutions. And it's not just education. We're talking about education almost exclusively today, but all this stuff that we're seeing coming out, all this maladaptive behavior, these the mutants, their source of power is the institutions. So if you can remove yourself from the influence of those by joining a rural community, starting your own community,
separating yourself from the city,
separating yourself as much as possible from the city and those institutions, you can send your kids to school and they won't learn about anal fisting in sixth grade.
They won't learn about furries and blood play.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing. It's not even a joke.
I know it's not a joke. That's why.
Dead serious. There's a way to do that where you don't have to fight the entire system and topple the entire system to achieve success for yourself. You got to think smaller. Everyone has this mentality where I have to save the entire country.
No, you don't.
Or it's not worth it.
Save as many people that want to be saved.
No.
Not even that.
Back, your immediate family, your family and your multi-generational family should be the extent of your concern for society.
Yes.
Outside of that, you should not care about anybody. You could even educate your own children. If you have a multi-generational family, you're able to go to work and be home and raise the kids and do that kind of stuff. That would be preferred. or if you could have some private school to send them to, that would also be an alternative
Of course.
that doesn't follow the state-sponsored curriculum that's sent down by Commander Newsom or whoever, Comrade Newsom, whatever
Nuisance.
bureaucratic government figure that sends all this garbage down. There's ways around it. So you might have to get creative. You do have to think outside the box. But if you're in the mindset of I need to change the entire system in order to save everybody,
it's too big.
You're on the wrong path.
You're too big. That's too big of a thought process.
Yeah, no, we're all there. I was there at one point too, where I was, we have to change the entire. We have to change the whole system. Otherwise, it's not worth it. But that's not how it's going to work.
Yeah, you've got to think smaller scale. Smaller scale is going to work better. It's going to have more. It's going to have more of a. It's going to have more of an effect on your day-to-day.
An immediate effect on your day-to-day life and the long-term implications for you and your family, which is all that really matters.
Yep.
Stop worrying about the guy halfway across the country. Just worry about you and your family.
Don't care about what's his face from wherever the fuck he is. Like, don't care about him. Care about your wife, your children, your parents, your wife's parents, your siblings, your wife's siblings. Like, those are the people that you should care the most about, because those are going to have more direct correlation on how you are going to fit into the world. So just worry about those.
Shout out to Jeff. No problem, buddy.
Yep, Prudent Patriot. That's the dude. I didn't even know his name. I just knew his channel.
To bar Trump from future office now that he is a private citizen requires Congress to pass a bill of attainder. They are prohibited by Article 1, Section 9. If SCOTUS lets them, the Constitution is meaningless. I see what you're trying to say. So yeah, they're trying to block Trump from running president again in 2024.
Well,
which
okay.
is
Well, good luck with that. And then if I've already heard reports that Trump doesn't even want to run in 2024. He's kind of like, I'm done. Like, I did 4 years. Y'all didn't appreciate me. I'm done.
Well,
so maybe we can get one of his kids to run. Or
we've always talked about how the private sector is more effective than the government sector. If Trump can find a way to continue on his agenda in the private sector, and I think he's trying to do that already because he established an office of the former president. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
What the hell is that?
In Florida.
Does anybody know what that is? I don't know what that is. What is he going to do with that?
I think he's going to start his own media company.
I think that's a clue, because we've had other clues like that where he said maybe we'll start our own social media company. That was one of the last things he said.
If he was smart, he would start his own media company, period.
So I'm just saying, if you want to get more influence, private sector is always going to be more efficient than the government sector.
Government is like slow when it comes to
trying to impose your
stuff.
power through the government where everyone in the entire structure hates you. It's probably not going to be as effective as running your own company and trying to assert influence over the country. It's all.
Holly Midlife says I said it above. Teaching the kids to protest may just backfire against the woke, as it may turn on them when the kids learn just how it's affecting society. Teach your kids critical thinking skills. That's why they're saying, like, what is this new generation? It's Generation Z, I believe. The Generation Z is coming out more conservative leaning than previous generations before.
Well, what I'm interested to see is the outcome, because I think generally the trend is that the kids are they're in the opposite direction of what their parents' affiliation is, for the most part.
Yes.
Like if your parents are super
liberal, you're going to come out more conservative.
If your parents are super conservative, you're going to come out more liberal because you're trying to rebel against your parental, So if everyone's going hardcore on all this SJW garbage through school and their parents,
they're going to come out more conservative.
The parents are, okay, on top of all those stuff that we told you, now on top of that, you also have your parents trying to get you to get on hormones and chop your dick off when you're 6 years old. Because you wore a dress once and you thought it was funny.
Because you wanted to wear a dress one time.
So that's also down here at the list of the long things you have to survive through to even get through childhood in this country now.
I don't blame these kids for wanting to be more conservative leaning, because honestly, they've gone off the rails.
So due to that effect, they might come out more conservative. And when they're taught that protest is so effective, Holly has a point when she's saying that maybe if they don't come out with the right ideology, they're going to be active politically and maybe in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So it could backfire.
Going to be a bunch of new white supremacists being raised in America.
Yep. Dragon says he likes the term alt-centrist. I've realized that's where I am when everything else has gone utterly nuts. Well, see, that's what an alt-centrist is. It's the standpoint of the objective observer. We're not in the game. We're not playing the game anymore. We're outside the game, and we're observing the game, seeing how it's played, and we're adapting accordingly. There's no emotional attachment anymore.
I mean, I've got an emotional attachment because I'm the female, so...
That's natural.
Yeah, that's natural.
You shouldn't want to get rid of that and try to become like a man.
Yeah, I don't want to be a man. I want to hold on to my illogical women tendencies of just holding grudges. So let's do it.
Yeah, well, maybe if maybe your kids are trying to right, Jeff. If you just teach them about meritocracy and
Jeff, your kids will be
don't
cool
don't
because
always
they got
don't always make them wear helmets, stuff like that. They'll
Yeah,
be fine.
Jeff, your kids will be okay because they have you as a dad.
The helmet thing, people always give me shit about. I'm like, don't make your kids wear helmets.
I think so. Don't make your kids wear helmets. They won't. Then
They're
they
like, what if it falls?
let them fall. Let them fall.
I didn't wear a helmet. I turned out great. That's
Yeah, I mean, you turned out pretty smart. I wore a helmet, and look how stupid I came out. So.
My office of the president-elect was Obama and Trump too. Biden didn't start it. Okay, they're talking about office of the president-elect as opposed to the office of the former president. Linux. Okay, still got some tech conversation going on in chat. I love that.
I love it.
By the way, if any of you guys are interested in cybersecurity, I'm more than willing to help you. If you need like a resume reviews, I'm very good at hiring. I think I've gotten every job I've ever interviewed for. I've done hiring in the past. I do my own consulting. I own my own business. I can help you out if you're interested. Just reaching out as an olive branch. Email me weeklynarrativeca@gmail.com. I'm more than willing to help you guys out.
He's a nice guy.
Get your resume polished up.
Yep.
I could say that because I don't have 10,000 people in chat. I've only got like 20 people in chat. And we're all tight.
Yeah.
We're all cool. So.
Prudent Patriot Jeff says, "Oh, so freaking nice of you, Delaney." I mean, I'm just saying, Jeff. I've seen like the events that you go to and you put on your channel. Your kids will be okay. Far better than me. So that's something to strive for.
Yeah, no, alt-centrist is just a nice term for being normal. That's exactly right.
Exactly.
But it's about marketing. So you have to play their own game against them. And that's what we will do. The Republicans don't play the games against the leftists.
They don't.
They see the games being played and then they just cry about hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Alt-centrist, our key tenet
We
is
play their game.
The key tenet is to play their own game against them. Use their strategy against them. And one of those
Let them
strategies
eat themselves.
One of those strategies is marketing. We have to, alt-centrist is just another word for a normal person. I'm not
Exactly.
And but you have to term it that way because then people say, "Oh, well, alt-centrist, what is that?" It's like, oh, they hear the word alt, and that immediately is provocative.
Well, yeah.
So they think you're a white supremacist just because it has alt on there. But then you explain what it is. At least it gets them to ask the question. But it's about marketing and playing the game. Language wars. We're playing the language wars here. Don't forget that. Okay, and the leftists are not the only one. We're not going to let them play the game alone.
Yeah.
We're in the language war. We're going to play it.
We're going to totally play their game and win. That's the thing. We are totally capable of like participating and winning against them, and that's what they don't want us to do.
Normal is oppression. Yeah, that's true.
Normal is oppression, don't you know?
I was thinking about that. They have, guys, did you hear about this? This is great. I wanted to share this with you guys because I heard this term being used because Biden did that thing where he basically he legalized men competing in women's sports and stuff like that. There's been a lot of discussion around that now. And one of the things that I saw, this is so funny. You guys are going to love this. Somebody wrote like an essay about how biological women don't have to overcome any of the hurdles that trans women do because they have all the right parts and they had all the right hormones.
Wait, what?
And they didn't have to get any surgeries or anything like that. And guess what they called it? There's a new term.
Oh, okay.
Nobody's heard here before.
Beep, 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 beep. New term.
Hot off the press. Okay, it's called bioprivilege.
Oh my god.
Bioprivilege because your biology, because of science, because of nature, because of the reality in which you were born into, you have a privilege. And when I thought of that, I laughed for a good 10 minutes about just the word bioprivilege, but then I realized, it clicked in my head, all these people are trying to do is come up with fancy words to synonyms for normal. They can never say the word normal.
Yeah.
They hate the word normal.
They have to put bio.
Again, because they're mutants. So instead of saying, "Oh, you're just a normal woman," they come up with this bullshit word, bioprivilege.
Bioprivilege, cisgender privilege.
You're bioprivileged because you had all the parts.
Yeah.
You were born with it.
And you embrace it and don't try to change it.
And that's it. Yeah. So that's a great point. They hate the word normal. They'll come up with any kind of language spaghetti, mental gymnastics to not say the word normal.
Yeah.
And if you even suggest that, being trans is not normal,
you're banned.
Which by the actual definition of the word normal, it is not.
It's not. It's abnormal. Just like being gay is abnormal.
they will lose their shit. They'll absolutely go nuts over you. They'll try to get you canceled, get your Twitter account removed, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. I'm probably gonna get canceled now. I'll see you guys.
Probably.
It's nice knowing you.
I'll get canceled
Et
too.
cetera.
That's fine with me. I don't have anything to cancel.
Weeklynarrative.locals.com after we get banned for saying that.
Join us on there. Robert says, seriously, stop using those Gmail accounts and get a Proton Mail or some other secure one. All right, Jeremy, you're the cyber guy, so.
That's true. Yeah, no, Proton Mail's an encrypted email service, but it's only good if you email other Proton email accounts exclusively. If you email a Gmail account, then it's just as compromised as using a Gmail account anyway. But a good suggestion.
I mean, we'll take it. We'll take it, Robert.
I have both Gmail and Proton Mail accounts.
Pretty sure Robert's been the one that's been telling us to stop using Google and start using DuckDuckGo and all this stuff.
That's a great way to put it. He says alt-centrist is just means you can have a beer with a BLM guy and a Nazi.
Hell yeah!
Yes.
USA! USA!
You guys have seen that in my videos. It's funny that you say beer specifically because I went to a Black Lives Matter rally. You could see me getting harassed at it. It's on my YouTube channel. Go back and watch it. I literally said to the guy, I was like, you know what? I think we could be friends someday. We could have a beer someday. And, he's like, no, we could never be friends. I'm like, all right. Well,
I'm sure that there's a lot more that we can agree upon.
I can break through.
I think you could.
I'll have a beer with anybody.
I know you would. You've had a beer with me, and you haven't tried to zap me yet.
No, I'm telling you guys, bioprivilege. It's going to be a word you're going to be hearing. Is coming up. This is, I'm on the cutting edge because I paid close attention to this, but you're going to start to hear that word a lot more in 2021 in reference to transgender stuff and gender science and stuff like that.
Instead of cisgender privilege, it's going to be bioprivilege because a lot of people hear cisgender and they're like, what the fuck is that?
Yep.
But you hear bio and it's like, oh, bio. Oh, normal. Okay, so you mean normal people. Okay. Yeah.
Nothing they say makes sense on purpose. Exhibit A, Eric Michael Dyson, master of word salad. Oh my God, that Eric Michael Dyson did a debate with somebody. I forgot who it was. Maybe all minus one can tell me because I'm pretty sure this is what he's referring to. But he's a social justice guy, black guy, and every answer he gave in the debate was just social justice, word spaghetti, word salad. Because the social justice and the left in general, and you'll see this if you watch any kind of leftist streamers as well, you'll see this phenomenon where they think that using more words equates to a stronger argument.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think I've understand why. And you guys let me know what you think of this theory, because this is a meritocratic environment. I want you to tell me if my theory's BS or if it sounds okay. These people, they're generally low IQ, but they come into college with high expectations, and they hear these people that they see as in a role of superiority intellectually. Smart people using words that they've never heard before.
Yeah.
They've never heard before. So they think to themselves, oh, wow, this intellectually superior person is using these words that I've never heard before, like colonialism and imperialism and white supremacy and racism and bioprivilege.
Yeah.
And they hear that and they become programmed to think that using these big words means that, yes, they mimic their behavior by thinking that using these big words will make them appear smart and superior to other people. So then what happens when they graduate with their gender studies or their sociology degree, they go out into the real world, they provide zero value to any economic actual entity, but they say these words like bioprivilege and white supremacy. You saw it in the articles. We already provided you guys with like 8,000 examples in these articles we talked about today, where these guys drop all these buzzwords because they go to these schools, they hear the people that they deem superior in their minds using these words. So they think they'll have that same effect when they go out into the real world. They drop all these buzzwords and they think that just by dropping buzzwords,
they win.
Like Eric Michael Dyson does in these debates, that's equivalent to victory. That's equivalent to
no, it's not.
Bigger words and longer sentences is equivalent to a stronger argument.
Until you get asked a yes or no question and you answer it with a 2-minute long diatribe, then you end up being the fucking retard.
So that's my theory, and let me know what you guys think about that, because I've been thinking about that one quite a bit.
I've seen that a lot in like debates and stuff that I've been watching on YouTube.
Yes, Jordan Peterson, thank you.
People will ask yes or no, yada yada yada, and the person answering the question, instead of saying yes or no, because they don't want to answer yes or no and have it be a definitive answer, they just go on 2-minute long diatribes about how...
That's why debates are unwatchable these days.
Yeah, they are.
It's exactly like All Minus One said. You cannot watch debates with these guys because they can't answer questions and they'll obfuscate with these BS spaghetti answers.
Yep. It's like, this is a yes or no question and you answered with a 2-minute long maybe.
Well, historically speaking.
Yeah, historically speaking.
Oh,
it's like, no, I don't want to hear it. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Is an unborn child alive? Yes or no? I mean, yes, that can be, subjective to some people, but
Every article we read to you guys was from various sources across the country, but they all had the same commonality. They're packed full of these buzzwords because they're all from people who just got out fresh out of college. They're using these buzzwords thinking that they're effective to some degree, and
they're just full of nonsense
because they don't know any better.
They are just full of nonsense. They're just parroting. They're little parrots. They really are. They're parroting what they heard in their college sociology class and thinking that's the end all be all. That's the truth.
If you want to see a perfect example of this, I'll go with what All Minus One said. Go watch the debate between it was Eric Fry and Jordan Peterson versus E. Michael Dyson. So search for that on YouTube. You will see the epitome. Eric Michael Dyson epitomizes exactly what these school production lines, the conveyor belts, want you to come out as.
Yeah.
You can pretend like you're answering all kinds of complex questions by just pumping out a bunch of buzzwords, and that's all these articles are that we talk about every week, every Tuesday and Saturday here live in the Weekly Narrative.
Yep.
We talk about these articles that are just filled with buzzwords because that's the same trend. They've all been taught to believe that if they just repeat these things, that it's some kind of argument.
Children of the lie.
Children of the lie.
As JLP with Jesse Lee Peterson. That's what he perpetually says on all of his programs. Fallen State and Jesse Lee Peterson.
Amazing.
He says amazing a lot, but he also says that people have been brainwashed to believe the lie, and they are children of the lie, and they are perpetuating that lie by keeping the lie going, by retelling that same lie and parroting that same lie.
He says it's a Saul Alinsky tactic in the Rules for Radicals to obfuscate that language like that.
I've heard of Saul Alinsky. I actually just found out about Saul Alinsky recently.
Doesn't surprise me. All right, guys. Hey, Dragon Energy, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate all the chat. You guys were very lively tonight.
You guys were awesome tonight. We appreciate you 100%.
You guys are the real MVPs. I appreciate all the chat participation because you guys make this fun and interesting, the back and forth and whatnot. The articles and all that wouldn't be the same without you guys. I do hope that you liked the video or dislike if you didn't think I earned it.
Yep.
And if you want to get our, join the private community in case we get banned and whatnot, right down here.
Locals.com.
Weeklynarrative.locals.com. That's the community that actually I think Jordan Peterson helped Dave Rubin develop. We're not going to get banned off of there, so go join us over there. And yeah, I think that's it.
I think so too. I mean, I had fun. Did you have fun?
Oh, I had a great time. We're live every Saturday and Tuesday at 7 p.m. PST.
And then on Saturdays we do the after-hour stream on weeklynarrative.locals.com. So I'm working on it, Jeremy. I'm working on that promo. So you can join us there for an after-hour stream, and we talk about things that we can't normally talk about on YouTube. So join us there. You'll have me complimenting you and telling you how beautiful and wonderful and amazing you are.
And we usually drink a little bit more on that one too. It gets fun and rowdy. So you can join us there if you want some extra content aside from the Tuesdays and Saturdays stream. But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm glad you were all here today. Hope you.
Prudent Patriot says, let's work together soon. Absolutely, Prudent Patriot. That'd be awesome. Jeff.
And
Jeff.
That's all for us, guys. We'll see you on Saturday.
Talking Horses MVP were shitty Mazda minivans? No, not those MVPs. The real MVPs.
On that note, you know what? I'm going to play the intro just because I like it so much.
Yeah, let's do the intro.
We'll get you guys pumped up, and then we're going to be out of here. We'll see you guys
on Weekly Narrative. Sayonara.